Day 4 of the week, day 5 of the month. Welcome to Thursday on the AM show. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. Always a pleasure serving you. Now, coming up this morning, we'll be getting to the news shortly, and I'll be doing justice to that. But right after that, we get into the news review, and today we have some papers. Thanks be to God. We'll be joined by educationist Sefam Lord Mensah, who will be our guest on that beat. But then we turn our telescope to Ghana's development. We've looked at the economy. We've looked at education. We've contemplated agriculture. Well, today, we're going to be contemplating the politics of government, anti-Galamsey movement, and anti-corruption fights. We're assembling stalwarts in those fields for a conversation, a fair conversation. We'll have representatives from academia. In fact, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante represents academia. He is a political scientist with the University of Ghana. Then we have Reverend Father Joseph Blay, an anti-Galamsey campaigner. How about an anti-graft campaigner in there? Vitus Azim is ably representing that cause. And from the government end of things, we have Palgrave Bwachidankwa. He is government spokesperson on governance and security. All of these people will join us for that all-important conversation on governance and the way forward in 2023. But again, we call to mind the Apiate explosion. Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abujinapo has been visiting Apiate. Remember, that community was razed to the ground following an explosion in that town. It's being rebuilt. We'll be there to bring you the latest right here on the AM show. And as always, the show is all about you. Without you, there's no show. So join us with your thoughts. Join us with any ideas that you have, any ways of bettering the show. Share with us with the hashtag AM show. And when we activate the phone lines, as we did yesterday, be sure to call in and share your thoughts. Right now, though, let's settle for the news up next. Welcome to the news segment, and in our first story, the company at the center of the controversy on illegal mining in the Tano Nimre forest in the western region has received the highest endorsement of its operations from President Akufo-Addo, who says it is currently not engaged in any such act. The president insists Akonta Mining Company Limited is not involved in any form of illegal mining anywhere in Ghana. Addressing participants at the 28th National and 16th Biennial Congress of the National Union of Ghana Catholic Diocesan Priests Association held in Koforidua, the president said the company had done no wrong.
Let me respond briefly to the chairperson on the issue of illegal mining. I want to assure him and all of you that Akonta Mining is not engaged in any illegal mining anywhere in Ghana as we speak. Further, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources has, through the agency of the Forestry Commission, with the assistance of the military, made the effort to cordon off all 294 sites of forest reserves in the country and rid them of illegal mining as we speak. We will continue to work to ensure that this situation remains permanent. This government is determined to win the fight against Galamsey, no matter the cost in effort.
Meanwhile, the concerned Samreboy Youth Association says it will oppose any move by Akonta Mining Company to venture into Samreboy to mine.
We have gathered here based on our intelligence that we've gathered this afternoon that the same company that came about some months ago that the people of Samreboy were not satisfied with have plans underway to invade the forest right again. And so we want people in authority, people that can listen and take action against the illegality to be aware. We are prompting them to be aware that this same company is just around, and plans are far advanced that they will invade the forest sooner or later. That is what we, the people of Samaboy, have gathered here, and we want the people in authority to know that we will oppose it with full force. We will oppose it with full force, and that we will not relent on fighting the company any iota of our blood. So we want to draw the attention of people in authority, the pressmen, to come to our aid. We have to let this unscrupulous company know that the activity is illegal.
Well, poor road infrastructure is almost synonymous with rural Ghana. However, for places where Ghana gets a lot of its resources, residents cannot comprehend how, despite their resources, their roads are left to deteriorate without attention from government. One of such places is the Wassa Amenfi West Municipality. Samuel Kojo Brace traveled to the area recently, and here is what his cameras captured.
A frustrated taxi driver in Asankragwa speaking to me about the impact of the poor nature of the Asankragwa Bordia Road. Driver Akwesi Abodo says he doesn't understand why their roads have been abandoned by government over the years. Ye koko enam kwenso samates for enam kwenso ye kwenina sese o da sese koko se Ghana se wasa no ye ne wasa particular se ye ne ye nkan ho a mum ye nkwan baba so ye de koko ne etimba no ebe ye chance ye koko ne etimba ene ne manyina gina wasa so nenso ne wasa hwe kwan body ha kakra tu asenkwa ma se tumi blessa ye ka etumi ye ta papai ye shocks nyina sese passengers for nyina ma se obedu fe kwa no nyina ho week. The Wassa area of the western region, especially Wassa Amenfi West, is a leading cocoa production area, contributing hugely to Ghana's cocoa output. However, it is among the areas with the poorest road networks in the country.
So that's an ambulance coming in towards Asankragwa. Now look at how slow the ambulance is driving. It is because of the poor nature of this road. So question is, if there's a patient in this ambulance, how fast can the ambulance take the patient?
The bad nature of the Bordia Asankragwa Road has been so for years now. Gloria, a resident of Boateng, a community which is about 40 minutes drive from Asankragwa, says the nature of the road is a nightmare for people of this area.
I am just want to say
Kebedu is a driver in Asankragwa. He says the roads have been heavily impacting on their vehicles.
Ye kwana de no kwanya menum emwaye ye no ye fa kwana so aye bre afi ye to pass na endu na wotwe na ya zo ba pai ye to bodwanta na say ye to ensa na say ye nji kwa tumi kopem na ye nji na sia pai na nji no breki di amamba ivoro mo mwaye.
Gloria wants government to intervene.
This is how say no cars need to more. Oton ade omutimi bone to mbu so. Ebi won man, esan say ha ne nyenti motos ne nam ha no e dey kra bi di bi bewura agata yi muma owuye. Nti e be stress on ba behwe no ma be ya amaye.
Driver Akwesi Abodo is appealing to the Ghana Cocoa Board to construct their roads with a Cocoa Road initiative. Wasane ne mana ye ne wodo wasase no ebo Ghana mo na so hwe kwan na so ye school ye bibia ne enso bibia na bia kwan bia no ye papa and the assembly was Cocoa Road no so mo ya omo mo ayen oh ye me ati say ye mpan for pa da Cocoa no kwa wasa France ya and the omo boy wasafo yi
boy was a phone, I was science, you can enter me because Coco somewhere. Omnia be more as you are now. I made Lavani, often by Juma, Menu Hore, Media Quino, and a Babua, a mamma name, a Busan, and some name was a treasure, man, never could say, yes, Papa, as I said, better than Scacofi, obviously the quantity, and the Diabo, you was at a bread or a crown.
Driver Kebedu says if government doesn't intervene, they will advise themselves.
Your border will a demonstration. Still, almost all over Yama, so you will say, I feel the moment to say, contract as you have our ma. When you follow my yes, I can't hold demonstration there. And the band, our Yama can be free as a body and a book or so crop on.
Only if government will heed to their request, it will bring a huge relief to the people producing Ghana's cocoa. From Asankragwa, for JoyNews, I am Samuel Kojo-Brace.
Now, residents of Salam Chrome in the Nkranza South municipality of the Bono East region want authorities to urgently give them access to the telecommunication network. They say the absence of a stable form of communications is hampering development as teachers and other government workers refuse postings to the area because they cannot have access to internet to conduct their research work and teach. Correspondent Anna Sabit was in the area and now reports.
This is Salam Chrome, a predominantly farming community in the Nkranza South municipality of the Bono East region. Residents here have for years decried the poor telecommunications network signals within the community. Opinion Nene Jemfi is an opinion leader here. He says residents sometimes have to risk climbing trees in trying to access telephone networks. We've been complaining to successive governments about the terrible network here, but to no avail. Sometimes have to climb trees in trying to access telecommunications network, and this could lead to one falling off in the process. Kwajo Eje on his part says the situation has compelled newly posted government workers, particularly teachers and nurses, to request for postings and leave the community soon after arriving in the community.
No one said, "Ne, a bird my bay, Nina, phones, ne, a use na, my party, ne, laptop, no, did my case. Only done not network in anything. Due to
the terrible network situation here, government workers seek for transfers soon after their arrival, and as a result, we've been struggling here over the years.
Pay it. So, there may be or beg my phone.
Some of the youth lament how the absence of an effective telecommunications network is affecting their businesses. Moses Tahiru is a painter.
On network, me to me a painter. Na me confirm no me you method that ebia wanya juma.
I am a painter, and people who need my services sometimes struggle reaching out to me. So for me, the situation is affecting my work.
Me say pursue that it mema majuma kora den e kachi
I have more friend to say o kwan bebre so because ne bibia dictator akrano o kitafon
the situation is also affecting our peoples as they are unable to study using the internet for
research.
Pregnant women are equally affected during labor as they go through difficulties reaching transport operators to get them to Nkranza for health care. As women, we struggle a lot in seeking for medical care. The situation is even worse when we are in labor. Therefore, appealed to government to help solve this long-standing challenge to boost the livelihoods of the people living in the community.
Salam Krumha. Adjeka Sudi network. Yasim here, yes, a Kruma. Ubatna, Yanka networker. It mustn't be a become. They need the slow Ukono, Inkim Rem Mai. The Itimebaswa, the ones that have mem, Nibia Kanyankupo.
The government, through its rural telephony project, is committed to extending basic telephone connectivity to underserved communities, and the people of Salam Krom can't wait to have their share of the implementation of this project. Anna Sabit, Joy News, Salam Krom.
Well now, while Municipal Chief Executive Alhaj Isaka Tahiru Momin is asking religious leaders not to use their positions to divide the congregations they lead, he wants them instead to be agents of development. Alhaj Momin has been speaking at an event by the Upper West Regional Chief Imam to sponsor 16 brilliant but needy students. Rafiq Salam reports from Wa.
Upper West Regional Chief Imam Alhaji Osman Mahamakane in October last year launched an educational endowment fund aimed, among other things, helping brilliant but needy students to pursue their education, especially at the tertiary level. Close to 3 months after the launch of the fund and in tandem with its objective, Board Secretary of the Imam Fund, Abdul Rahman Zakaria, disclosed that 18 students applied for sponsorship to pursue various programs at the tertiary level for the 2022-2023 academic year. He said the Imam Educational Fund has since Wednesday paid the fees of 15 students and the accommodation of 1 student, both amounting to 33,348 pesos.
The applications were vetted. The applicants were subsequently interviewed by the Evaluation and Assessment Committee of the Fund. I am delighted this evening to report that as of 3rd January 2023, the Regional Chief Imam Educational Endowment Fund had paid the school fees for 15 students, and have paid the accommodation fee for 1 applicant, making it 16 in all. The Regional Chief Imam would like to use this opportunity to appeal to corporate organizations, non-governmental organizations, and individuals to contribute towards the sustenance of this fund.
Due to the non-discriminatory and irreligious nature of the fund, Daniel Vincent is a Christian and is being sponsored by the Imam's Fund to pursue civil engineering at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology.
We want to assure him that when we go to school, we are going to make this scholarship meaningful. We are going to make good use of it, and we are going to learn very hard so that in future, this scholarship will not be a waste. We are going to make it and make him proud.
Other beneficiaries of the fund also says their thoughts.
To do our best so that in the future we will come with more funds to support more needy students.
Inshallah, we will try our possible best. We will do our best to become people better in future, so that one day we will be the ones to help people like this. We are indeed grateful for whatever you've done to us.
One Municipal Chief Executive, Isako Tahiru Momin, commended the Upper Regional Chief Imam for the initiative, urging other leaders in the country not to use their positions to lord over the people, but to bring unity and development to their areas.
The conditions for qualification does not preclude people from other faiths, and that is the hallmark of leadership, and that is an epitome of a leader who wants everybody to be one and who sees the development of a child as a responsibility for everyone. And this is a signal being sent to every leader, especially our religious leaders, to understand that we are not to use our positions as religious leaders to bring division and fragmentation in our communities and the people that we represent. We have to use our positions as leaders of religion to unite the people. We have to use our positions as religious leaders to bring development to our people. And we cannot get development if we are not well educated.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
In our next story, the Dufia of Mafi Adidome in the Central Town District of the Volta region, Togbi Kwasinyi Kakaklolo Ajaman V, is asking young people to stay away from aphrodisiacs and alcohol to stay healthy. He says the abuse of these substances have led to a rise in death cases among the youth. He spoke to correspondent Fred Kwame Asari after a health screening by an NGO, 100K for Ghana.
100K for Ghana is a benevolent organization made up of people from different countries intending to pool resources together to undertake projects to make life better for the underprivileged in society. The health screening exercise, which is the second edition in the area, forms part of the NGO's annual plan aimed at extending healthcare to people who can't afford it. Bennett Nyasebi is the country director of 100K for Ghana.
Our job is to complement the work of government because we realize that the government alone cannot do everything. So we as individuals and citizens from Ghana and other countries across the world have just decided to come together, pool our own resources, including support from friends, partners, and other people to undertake some of these very important social interventions that we have identified in communities. This year, we added the renewal of national health insurance cards to whatever we were doing because we realized that a number of people are in the communities. You wonder they cannot even afford as little as 23 cities or 6 Ghana cities to renew health insurance card, which can help them have access to health care.
244 residents in Ajidome and its environs benefited from the health screening exercise, which provided free consultations, eye care services, and medications. The top 3 medical conditions identified were myalgia, anemia, and hypertension. The Jufia of Mafi Ajidome, Togbi Kwasinyi Kakakololo Ajima V, expressed worry about the prevalence of these conditions.
It's obvious that most of these things can be attributed to the abuse of substance. I mean, taking all sort of aphrodisiacs and then unprescribed drugs and the rest. I'd like to appeal to them. If we are saying that the youth are the future, are the leaders for tomorrow, then if we lose them this young, and as many of them are such, it means that we'll probably be having no leaders tomorrow. So my appeal is to the youth, I mean the entire youth of Ghana, that they should, abstain from these things, abusing substances. And the elderly, I think that we will encourage them to be doing checkups. And that is why I am committed to bringing people like 100K for Ghana. I mean, periodically to come to our people, to come to the service of our people.
The finance director of 100K for Ghana, Samuel Osei, appealed for support from the public to enable his outfit undertake projects aimed at improving livelihoods.
So right now we started off funding most of these projects and the health screening with our own monies. We wanted to show what we can do, individually brilliant, collectively superior, what we can all do. But going forward, we want to really push the public to donate as much as possible so that we can be able to put together health screening and these type of projects so that it really just provides livable wages for the community and also end the year in good health on a yearly basis, such as what's happening here today.
About 177 residents had their National Health Insurance Scheme cards renewed at no fee. Fred Kwame Asari, JoyNews, Ajidome.
On that encouraging note, we wrap the news. Up next, the news review. Do stay. Thank you for joining the conversation. Time now for us to dig into the papers. Today we have 3 of them, and we are joined by educationist Sefam Lord Mensah, who is our guest. Sefam, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's a great pleasure having you. Interestingly, we've been talking about a number of focal areas in our country in recent times. We've spoken about the economy and the financial state of the country. We've spoken about education, agriculture. I'd just like to find out from you, since you're an educationist, when you reflect on 2022, when you look at where we are from basic to tertiary education, when you reflect on free SHS and how implementation is panning out from feeding to everything else, what do you make of our educational system, and what would you like to see in 2023?
So I will first of all want to say that we have come a long way.
Right.
In the sense that a lot has been done, and you notice that we are going through lots of reforms in our educational system. I remember 2017, when we started discussions on the pre-tertiary curriculum framework, which was launched in 2018. There were extensive discussions whether it's an old thing in a new bottle or something like that. But going back, I could speak to the fact that there have been some sort of consistencies when it comes to the reforms in terms of education. The free SHS, the teacher licensing, the standardization, as in the standardized tests, the TVET, and every other thing, and the support or the accountability issues that have been established to support schools and other things. And the challenges, yes, of course, free SHS is going through challenges, but we can speak of some of the things that have been done in terms of infrastructure. In as much as we have deficits, there have been efforts made to make sure that it reduces those challenges when it comes to access. Our access has increased, but all these things come with quality of education. And it boils down to the fact that if you want to talk about quality, if you want to talk about access, then it means funding of education becomes a priority. And yes, all countries are having issues when it comes to funding education. So how do we position ourselves or put ourselves in such a way that moving forward, we would not rely solely on the government or tax students so much to pay for these services, because education is a right. And if it must be enjoyed by the populace or the majority, then the students should not be taxed too much to pay for these services or for education service. So yes, we might not be where we want to be, but we are making strides. Lots of reforms are going on. 1,001 reforms where we have the developmental partners or agencies assisting with most of these reforms that our educational system is going through.
And just to maybe widen the scope of the conversation, I'm looking at a story on bbc.com, for example, and we'll wrap up our conversation with the online portals, which says Sri Lanka crisis forcing children out of school. And that is a situation that here too, on the back of COVID-19 and others, in some aspects of our basic education, we've seen the impact. But going back to free SHS, people talk about quality. They also talk about equity. And there's been talk in 2008 when Kenya started its free secondary school program, 23% was what those day students had to pay of the total fee. For the boarders, they had to pay everything. Government basically subsidized just a little. Are we getting quality from free SHS? And in terms of equity, those who can pay, those who have said that we can actually pay, government should give us the option of doing that. What is your take on that? And again, we keep reflecting on schools under trees across the country. Go to South, go to the northern belt of the country, go to, practically every region has it. What is your quick take on this? Then we move away from education.
So when we talk about quality, you and I know quality means different things to different people. However, in education, when we talk about quality, then we are trying to talk about the content of the education that we dish out to our citizens, the infrastructure-wise, the caliber of facilitators or instructors that engage the content, and how fluid the curriculum is. When I talk about the fluidity, meaning that it captures the dynamics or the changes that the nation or the country is going through. are we able to inculcate all these things into our curriculum and implement them as quickly as we want them to go? Because it is the vehicle that would move everything that we want to see. If you want to see Ghana in 20 years to come being an agricultural industry, economy, or more of trade, it starts from the kind of education that we give to our people. So going back to these things, is our curriculum fluid? Yes, it is fluid. Is the implementation matching what is in the content? This is the challenge that I believe as a teacher that we are going through now. Because if resources are not matching up to what the content demands us to give, then we are going to be having issues. So I believe that you notice a lot of countries, including ours, when the COVID happened, threw more light on the inequalities in the system as to even in the public schools, those in the urban centers compared to the rural areas, the facilities that they were all enjoying, they were not the same. So the COVID came to throw light on all these inequalities or disparities that were existing in the system. So you notice that a lot is being done. When you look at the government budget allocation, education comes on top. But the question is, that budgetary allocation, what aspect of that money goes into infrastructure? What aspect goes into salaries and other things? Majority of these things are centered on what? The salaries. But are we giving more to building or expanding the infrastructure, training of more teachers, not just after passing out the 4 years? What other facilities do we have access to? These are the things I think we should be looking at. A lot is going on. Other countries are facing, even developed economies have reduced their allocation when it comes to education. How much more we, the developing ones, having issues in terms of health, having issues in terms of environmental problems, social and other things. So yes, it's not as we want it to be, but I think we should be making the efforts. We should put the phrase is what? Put our money where our mouth is.
Right.
So if you're having all these reforms, then the resources to push or to implement the reforms should be in place. The systems should implement the reforms should be in place. Taking back this, you notice that the 2018 curriculum framework touched on something on foundational learning. That is the numeracy and literacy, where the people should be able to read simple and understand simple sentences or engage in simple additions and subtractions so that that learner will be able to build upon to the next level. You notice that in 2015 and 2017, when they did the early year assessment for English and then mathematics, we were falling short of, I think, 70 and 73% for English and mathematics. So the framework captured these things so that moving forward, our schools would commit to how to reduce these percentages so that our learners or our people will be stationed or positioned in such a way that they will have the needed skills to be able to move forward. So these things, I think that when we look back and assess where we are, we can push forward by putting all these things in place. I don't know whether I am making sense from that angle.
You are perfectly. Just the final bit, I wouldn't have posed another question, but you speak about the budget of the education ministry being the biggest and all of that. But is it sufficient? You talk about what it goes into, payments and all of that. How much more do you feel we should be committing to this? I don't mean hardcore sums of money, but how much more do you feel we should be committing to education in our country?
So if the percentage we are committing to education is going to sustaining salaries and other aspects of education is running short of it, then I think a lot more needs to be committed to it. However, you and I know that government is not talking alone about education. We have other sectors that also need assistance. So, you know, when the massification of education came through, it was to allow the private person to get involved in educational provision. How best looking forward, how innovative can we be that we can look at other avenues of funding education? We cannot talk about quality if you are having funding issues when it comes to education. So government alone cannot put this burden on themselves, on them. We are having to deal with, what do you call it, the effect of what? Illegal mining. We are having to deal with the effect of COVID. We are having to deal with other issues. We are having to deal with sustainable development and all these issues. So yes, can we look at other innovative means to fund education? How best can we motivate the private person to invest in education? What kind of courses are we to run at our tertiary institutions for the private person to get attracted to say, okay, let me give out this amount of money to this university so that the student that they are churning out will come to our side, attachment, go back to the classrooms, implement the things they are learning so that we are all pushing an agenda. If you want to be an agri-sustained country 20 years to come, then our curriculum has to be fluid, our funding has to be channeled into that angle, and our facilitators have to be re-educated or retooled to understand that this is the way forward, and we can't do things in not having any sort of connection to all the activities that we are doing. We should all be speaking the same language, moving towards the same direction.
Well, let's get into the papers now. Later, we'll reflect on some other matters, and some of them will come up, including Galamsey. The Daily Graphic this morning, UG freshers battle accommodation challenges, and I'm sure you know of the situation and the increase in user fees by about 15%. In the case of the University of Ghana, it's said to be over 15%. That has raised quite a storm. There have been complaints. We've heard from the NUGS president. The university, Professor Awandare, has come in to also respond from that angle, saying that they are not doing anything illegal. And if the student body, any student body thinks there's any illegality, they can go to court.
Take them to court.
Yes, that story is on page 16. Overcoming economic challenges, eschew extreme partisanship. Two statesmen advise nation. The two are Seth Tekpe, a former Minister of Finance, and Sam Okujato, a veteran legal practitioner and member of the Council of State. Let's take a look at that story. So two statesmen have called on citizens to eschew extreme partisan politics and support the government to turn the economy around. While a veteran legal practitioner and member of the Council of State, Sam Okujato, urged citizens to remain hopeful and do their bit to support the government to help turn the economy around for the better this year, a former Minister of Finance, Seth Tekpe, has called on the citizenry not to allow partisan politics to divide them to the extent of hindering development. Messrs. Okujato and Tekpe were speaking in separate exclusive interviews with the Daily Graphic. There's also on page 20, Apiate reconstruction, 31% done. That story is on page 20. Let me take a little bit of that and then I'll allow you to come in and share your thoughts on these stories. So work on the first phase of the Apiate Reconstruction and Development Project is 31% complete and will be ready for use by the end of June this year. As we say, by June, dear. The first phase of the project, which is the core component of the work, involves the reconstruction of 124 housing units. Out of that number, 106 units are under construction, with some at foundation and others at the lintel level. This came to light when the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abu-Jinapor, paid a working visit to the project site yesterday. So just to cap off, Mr. Jinapor said he was happy that the funds that have been mobilized from members of the public were being put to good use. He stressed that the government was determined to get value for money for the project. So you have a few stories to react to. UG freshers battling accommodation challenges, eschew extreme partisanship in overcoming economic challenges, and Apiate reconstruction, 31% done. Let's start from there.
So with the UG accommodation issue, year in and year out, every admission section, UG has been experiencing these accommodation challenges. So I keep asking myself, why wouldn't the story be different this time round? It would be the same. because can we speak to the fact that maybe a year ago to now, have there been any investment in terms of infrastructure, accommodation, or hostels on campus for the students to be able to access these things? Imagine a fresher walking to campus for the first time. Some people have not even been to Accra before. So their first call to Accra, to campus, and they have to go through the wahala, for better want of a word, to get accommodation is a challenge. I'm not saying, and it's becoming worrying. It's worrisome in the sense that we keep going back to the same thing over again. Can we look at it from a different angle, that they stop doing the same thing over and over again and begin to invest more in infrastructure? I believe they have land that if they decide to invest in accommodation, it would alleviate these challenges. So
I get your point. Pardon my interjection. The University of Ghana has swathes of land going all the way to Atomic. And it's
exactly,
huge.
And some are even encroaching on these properties.
That is true, but the point
people are encroaching on the properties.
I mean, it extends to the university hospital and all of that, the Legon hospital and all of that. But the point is, developing this land is also cost intensive. That is part of the problem, isn't it? In the past, UG is sort of like a quasi-autonomous entity. And in the past, requests for funding and all of that have not necessarily panned out from government. And I'm not talking about this specific administration. Government in, government out. You also heard of that judgment debt issue some time back. If we had lost, that would have been a lot of loss to the University of Ghana and to the state. So it's a cost matter, isn't it?
It is a cost matter, but if you are investing into such infrastructure, it's a risk you are taking. You have made your projections. I don't think you just walk in and start developing. You make your projections as to if you are going for a loan, how many years would it take you to recoup the money back? What are you supposed to do? Let me speak to what I know of UCC, the superannuation. I have stayed in that particular facility before. It is huge. Where did they get the money from to invest in such huge edifice? Can University of Ghana toe the same line since they have the land? How best can they use something like that to their benefit so that year in, year out, when the freshers come on campus, they will not be going through these challenges? That is where I am looking at it from. I'm not saying UCC is all sorted when it comes to the accommodation, but I don't think the situation is the same as UG. Not to mention that, of course, the population that will be coming to UG will be bigger than what will go to UCC. However, I think that efforts should be made moving forward, how best they can invest in infrastructure, accommodation. They have the land. What is stopping them from investing in such things? They have capable men in finance that would give them projections, give them plans, investment plans for them to build and recoup their money either 2010 or 15 years to come. So I think that is where we should be going. They should be looking at investing in infrastructure so that it can alleviate these issues when the freshers come to campus. Because it's not a site you can take a visit to campus right now and you notice what is going on. And I'm here, my husband, calls upon calls for accommodation, for this, for that. Not that he's an estate person or whatever, but so long as he works there, you get people coming in to make calls for help. Can he say he wouldn't help? So he has to also resort to certain assistance from the colleagues if they can help, if they can't help. But I think moving forward, conscious effort has to be made. I'm sure they are making some already anyway. But let's see it on grounds. Is there any investment? How feasible can that be? If they have to reclaim some of their encroached lands and have edifice on so that freshers will have somewhere to lay their heads when they come to campus.
Let's get into another story here on page 21, focusing on business. Additional tax ban, domestic revenues to rise, disposable income to drop. Of course, we know that with inflation as of November, which reflected in December at 50.3%, disposable income will drop. with what is going on with the debt exchange and all of that, people are affected again on the back of an expected IMF program and all of that. And with the hikes in the policy rate, we also know that some banks, at least I know for some, have hiked their interest rates, which means that people who are on facilities have to pay more than they were ordinarily paying before all of this chaos came through. But the story by Charles Benoni Okain says, the country currently finds itself in a serious debt situation, a development which has prevented the government from accessing the international capital markets to borrow. Among other things, the present situation has triggered a number of actions by the government as part of efforts to increase its domestic revenue mobilization efforts in an attempt to bridge the revenue gap. In the 2023 Budget and Government Economic Program, the Minister of Finance announced the introduction of an additional income tax band of 35% for specified income levels for resident individuals. This will introduce a new top marginal rate, tax rate of 35% above the current rate of 30% on chargeable monthly income exceeding 20,000 Ghana cedis for resident individuals. And mind you, VAT has gone up. Just the other day, a few days ago, I have a friend who works in Burkina Faso. Interestingly, he prefers to work there in a country that has had a coup. But he's been working there for years, by the way. And he comes to town every 2 or 3 years. So he invited me out for lunch. And when we were done, I just took a look at the bill. He paid, though. But I took a look at the bill, and the taxes horrified me. The taxes horrified me. On a meal, if you look at the amount we paid for the meal and the tax component, Sefam, your thoughts?
So I was having a discussion yesterday. I was going through something. Aside me being a teacher, I have passion for entrepreneurial, for better want of the word, adventures. I double up as a facilitator for Ghana Enterprise Agencies, where we train startups on entrepreneurship and other things. And to make my work more easier and understanding, I ventured into business myself, where I am into more of a cottage industry. And mind you, that industry is choke. I say choke in the sense that every hour, every day, you get new people, new brands coming into the market. I'm talking about the shuttle business. So the question is, if you want to stand out, there should be something unique about your product that when people see it from afar, it would attract them. And the content, what is also in it, also should speak for itself. And pricing of these things alone, when you mention the input cost of these items, most of them are seasonal. So if even the dollar rates, if you are talking about even the dollar going down for us to buy things, the seasonal aspect of the input of the items we use also affects the pricing of the items. So if we are putting all these tax again on things we consume here, it's more like we are robbing Peter to pay Paul. So you reduce the tax at a place and then increase it at a certain place. So we are back to the same point. Is Ghana one of the expensive countries to live in Africa? I think so. Domestic tourism. How come we can't even travel in our own countries and have a good time for 3 to 4 days? It is because of the cost implication. I don't know if you have taken the pain to go through the Christmas packages of these 4 to 5 star or 3-star hotels outside Accra. Most of them, they quote it in dollars. And the cost is outrageously high, and I don't blame them because they need to factor in all these tax components you have mentioned. So you see, if they have to stay in business, not just making super profits, stay in business and be relevant, then they need to do something different and ensure that they can all pay the taxes back. So they compound or they add all these tax components to their cost of production or cost of services, and it becomes high. We can't fault them. You need to stay in business. Not to mention if inflation is 50.3, and for example, if I have to increase my price and I'm doing only 20% across board, the question is the remaining 30 what? 30.3, where should I get it from? But because I want to stay in business and I'm trying to break through the market, I would have to limit myself to 20% so that those who are interested or want to change product would get to me and I still would retain them. But it's not as easy as we are talking about. A lot goes into it. People think that if the dollar rate comes down and you are bringing things and the price goes down, there are other factors that we need to consider when we are pricing. So to stay in business, things would continue to be expensive in this manner because of the tax component.
Let's get into this final story I'll take from the Daily Graphic, pages 24 and 25. Akunta Mining not involved in illegal activities. And just pardon my being this emotive or emotional and expressive. Yesterday when I heard the story, I honestly thought it was not correct. I felt maybe there was some mischief in there until I saw the video. So here it is, middle spread of the paper. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has absolved Akunta Mining from any wrongdoing, saying that the company was not involved in any activities anywhere, any illegal mining activities anywhere in the country. The president was addressing the Catholic Bishops' Conference and the 16th Biennial Congress of the National Union of Ghana Catholic Diocesan Priests Association in Koforidua in the Eastern Region last Tuesday. He said, quote, "Let me respond briefly to the chairperson on the issue of illegal mining. I want to assure him and all of you that Akunta Mining is not engaged in any illegal activities in any part of the country as we speak. Further, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources has, through the Forestry Commission and with the assistance of the military, cordoned off all 294 sites of forest reserves in the country and rid them of illegal mining as we speak." This morning, we shared a story about the youth of Samreboy who say they are not going to tolerate any illegal mining in their area tied to this matter. But for me, what I found shocking was the fact that even if this has to be said, and mind you, the special prosecutor is investigating the matter. Why would Mr. President come out and almost give a sort of verdict on the matter when the OSP is looking into the matter? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
So you're not the only person emotional about this illegal mining stuff. I'm saying this because last week we took a trip outside Accra, and any bridge you cross from the western part to the eastern and central, you notice that the color of the water is as brown as anything you can imagine. And you wonder the communities within that encroachment, the question you ask yourself, so how do they fend for themselves when it comes to water usage? Then it goes all the way to where we had to branch. And the whole idea of all of us speaking about illegal mining or sustainable mining or responsible mining is to leave a legacy for the future or for the generations to come. However, the rate at which we are going with everything and the decisions we are taking, my dear brother, I am sorry to say that if you continue like this, there'll be nothing left for our children to come and even work on. So it is not a matter of using jargons or semantics to polish or to suppress, for better want of the word, to suppress certain things that people would express. Going back, the community leaders, the chiefs, the municipal executives, the assemblymen and all these things, what activities are they involved in that somebody from Accra could just walk in onto their land and start mining with an excuse that they have a permit to do so? Ghana, as I know, we have committed ourselves to environmental agencies and commitment to what? To ensure that we do the right thing, responsible and sustainable activities, including the banks that are giving facilities for these companies to run their activities. Are we all doing the right thing, the due diligence as in checking what we are supposed to check to ensure that we are not involved in illegalities that will affect our generations or our future. So it is not a matter of we putting statements out there that it would, for better want of a word, reduce the impact or the issues that we are supposed to speak to. I listened to one of the, is a coalition for illegal Galamsey saying that the last phrase of the president says, as we speak now, meaning that all the things that have been done. That's what he said,
as we speak.
So
what about what was done in the past?
Yeah, all the things that have been done, they have been acknowledged. However, as we speak now, there's nothing illegal going on. Our concentration should not be on just as we speak now. Our concentration, I believe, is that we should go back to the things that have been done from for the past 6 years that we have started this war against illegal Galamsey. You watch videos and people are being taken away from their homes as if they are rats, for better want of the word. That they dig around them and they have no rights. They only have to exit the place for the people to mine. Mining close to communities, villages, schools. We saw the videos. You and I is
destroying people's farms, taking them over by force,
digging under buildings. The question again I would have to ask all of us is this responsible activity? Are we safeguarding the future for our children, generations to follow after us? Are we having a successive plan? And I'm sorry to say that if you continue like this, it is not about using jargons. It's not about defending statements. It is about taking responsible actions and saying that moving forward, there should be certain things that should be criminalized, that when you farm or dig around water banks or you do certain things to endanger the environment, if you have to go to court or if you have to be imprisoned, if your properties have to be seized, it must be done. But you don't put policies in place to stop the locals from engaging, and yet somebody from somewhere will get into the community and start mining and doing the same thing that you are stopping the locals. Do you think they will listen to you? They will not. So my take is we should be looking out for responsible and sustainable environmental activities for the benefit of our future.
The last story, import duties up by 15% after reversal of benchmark discount. That story reflecting the fact that this means customs valuations for the purposes of duties and taxes will now be based on free on board, that is FOB values submitted by importers. For instance, an importer of aluminium profiles for doors and window frames who paid 164,000 Ghana cedis last week when the discount was in place has now been given a duty of 190,000 Ghana cedis. That's the final story I'll look at in the Daily Graphic newspaper. At the Ghanaian Times, 48 alleged terrorists missing. That's a question. Police Immigration Service in blame game over their whereabouts. Police arrest 3 suspects in Kaswa Mumu robbery case. We'll defend ourselves if poachers continue to shoot us, Forestry Commission. And OSP conducts investigations, prosecutes corruption-related offenses by institutions and individuals. Let's do that sole story on page 12 of the paper. So, confusion has erupted over the whereabouts of 48 foreigners who were arrested in connection with alleged terrorism and other fraudulent acts in September last year. While the police claimed the suspects were handed over to the Ghana Immigration Service in the Ejisu municipality to deal with them, the latter insists the police handled the matter. A police source at the Ejisu Divisional Police Command told the Ghanaian Times in a follow-up exercise that the operation to arrest the suspects was carried out by the Ghana Immigration Service. But the Ejisu commander of the GIS, Deputy Superintendent of Immigration, Alfred Niboy Lati, when contacted on phone, also claimed the suspects were dealt with by the police. This country will never cease to amaze me. Your thoughts?
So when you travel abroad or we travel anywhere, before you enter the country, you are given forms to fill. So they're more of a check and a track. So when you overstay, they are aware that you are still in the country and you'll be penalized the next trip you take. And especially when it comes to issues in terms of, should I say illegality or something like that, where the immigration is involved, the police is involved and other things. If people are being, should I use the word reprimanded or have issues to handle, I'm sure there should be the priority of the police in the sense that where they go, where they eat, where they sleep, who they are with, which region they are, should be of concern to whoever is responsible for these people. So to come back and say that they have escaped to where? Are they out of Ghana? Where did they pass? How did it happen? Is there any paper trail to the activities? How come they were able to exit? To which country? To which area? I'm sure moving forward, we have resources and facilities enough in our system in terms of security that if you really want to trace activities or the whereabouts of these people, wouldn't be an issue. So I think we should engage these facilities or avenues or strategies to find where these people are. Because if they are about terror issues and they have been let loose and you don't know what they are planning next, then it's worrying. So it's something that we should look into more.
Daily Guide, NSS suspends Ashanti regional boss. He's been given a 2-month suspension. Let's just take a quick look at that story. I'll also look at the Airbus issue. So the Ashanti Regional Director of the National Service Scheme, Alex Opoku-Mensah, I'm sure you listened to the tape and heard all the furore of the nurses about it. He has been suspended for 2 months without salary for verbally assaulting a nurse at the Manshak Government Hospital in Kumasi last year. I would like to find out from you, is this punitive enough? You know, I listened to the whole thing and I felt like puking. Not just because he is a public officer, but the way he addresses the young lady. And you would notice the young lady, the nurse, even when he, together with his daughter, the doctor, are throwing taunts at her and all of that, really restrains herself. I found that interesting. A young person, yet someone in the capacity, and again, I say this without fear or favor, some people in public office don't deserve to be there. Their temperament. In the United States, in 1991 or so, the American coach, football coach, male team, kicked his wife. 24, I mean, they are celebrating their 24th or 25th anniversary. That issue has been brought up. Imagine. And here, we can have someone do something like this. I'm not saying necessarily he should be thrown out or something, but I just get the feeling that a lot of these public officers, they feel once they are there, they are over and above everybody. When the nurse said that she also has a father who is also someone, he was like, oh, papa, why? You know, those kinds of things. Such things irk my spirit. Any quick reflections on that? But maybe let me just add, OSP tackles £5 million Airbus scandal and the infamous Airbus bribery scandal, which was linked to a top government official one, if you recall, in the erstwhile Mahama-led NDC administration, has been named by the Office of the Special Prosecutor as one of the cases still under investigation. The OSP, in a half-year report ending December 2022, revealed it was yet to unpack the bribery scheme operated by Airbus, in which the UK's Serious Fraud Office and the United States authorities quoted at least £5 million as payment of kickbacks to a top Ghanaian official through an intermediary who is a close relative of, quote, a high-ranking elected Ghanaian government official. Would you like to see some finality to this matter? And again, what do you think about the NSS Ashanti Regional Director's issue?
So the NSS issue, it's... what should I, as a parent, so this is where we say 2 wrongs can never make a right. So let's even take it that your daughter, as a medical doctor, went through some form of bullying at work, and she has reported the case to you as a parent. And being a director in one of the government institutions and other things, I believe there were better ways of handling the entire issue instead of he going there in person to face the nurse. So yes, he has been suspended. I believe suspension for further investigations to go on, and later dates, a final decision will be taken on him. I don't know about these issues. But gone were the days this could have been swept under the carpet and nobody would bother about it. But an effort like this, I think, in as much as is not sufficient, it should be encouraged that directors of agencies or heads of institutions don't have that prerogative to go into another person's jurisdiction or sector and hoard over or behave as if because they are directors at certain places, they have the power to, for better want of the word again, to misbehave or to say certain things to make a case. So yes, I would say that it's not sufficient. But you and I know some years back, this wouldn't have made news. But the fact that it's making news, and
I guess the fact also is social media and the fact that now you're doing something, someone records you, puts it out there. And,
exactly.
And there's no choice.
Exactly. So it is the public speaking to these issues and bringing them on board, more of public prosecution or something like that, that would cause the directors or those in power or authority to do something about it. So yeah, it's a way forward. It's a step in the right direction, in as much as it's not sufficient, or most of us believe that it should be more serious or intense as compared to what he has been given.
Stefan, thank you so much for joining us this morning. This is where we're going to have to cap it off. It's been really refreshing having you join us this morning. I wish you the best of the day.
You too.
All right. And that is Stefan Lord Mensah, an educationist. She joined us for this morning's review. Hopefully you enjoyed it. But up next, we have another serving of sports. It's another package we've put together for you for your viewing pleasure. Do stay.
Talk us through briefly that qualification series for the 2006 World Cup.
Yeah, so that time they've played some couple of games, especially in the first round.
Yes.
I was invited the first game against Burkina Faso away game.
Okay.
At that time, I've come down from holidays. I was playing in Russia.
Okay.
I've come down for holidays, and then the FA realized I'm in town. That's how come they came to my house and invited me that I should join the team.
And at that time, that's how they were inviting you people. They just come to your house and take.
Then I said to them, no, you cannot do that. You know, what if my team get to know that I'm on holidays and I'm now playing football? It's not nice. So do the right thing. So I was with the team, but I did not travel with the team to Burkina Faso.
Okay.
I did not go with the team. So I told them the next game they should do the right thing.
If not, they should write to your club.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Invitation to the club, and the club will know. Okay. We release it.
Yeah.
Just imagine your club know that you
are here,
and then seeing you playing
international football.
Yeah, it's not right. So, but the next game against Congo away, they did it. The invitation came in and I came. So that was my first game for the.
Was it the away game?
The away game against Congo.
Okay.
Which I had a good game as well. You know, it was. I think I assist for that goal.
Okay.
Samoa's goal. That gave us 1-1 draw. And then against Burkina Faso, I was on the bench. I couldn't start it because the Doya changed his mind last minute, a day before the match prep, and he changed his mind, put me on the bench. We won the game, went to South Africa, which is a very big game.
Yeah.
So that moment, after we beat Burkina, we were close to South Africa.
Yes.
So it's like they were leading us by 1 point. So we have to win. So after we beat them, then we came
at the top.
and then we have to play against.
I remember you played Uganda too.
Uganda.
At Baba Yara.
Yeah.
Yes, and then
after,
Ghana won 2-0 or something.
Yeah, after South Africa, we played Uganda.
Yes.
And Uganda game, they told us, oh, if we beat Uganda, we've qualified.
It was 2-0, I remember.
After we beat Uganda, we were jubilating, and all of a sudden they told us, hey, we have to beat Cape Verde.
Cape Verde.
Before we can qualify. So it was a tough moment, but we came through.
You went through and you beat Cape Verde 4-0.
Yeah, 4-0.
Yeah.
Cape Verde, we were not surprised that we're going to beat them, but we knew it's going to be tough for us. The reason is the pitch that we're going to meet. Because you know that time we And that time Cape Verde did not invested well in their game. So we were scared that the pitch that we'll see will affect us. That's why we managed to score early goals and then silence them quickly.
Tell us about the discussions you had within the group as players. What were you telling yourselves?
Yeah, for us, we knew Ghana have been craving for the World Cup for a long time.
Yes.
We've had a lot of good group, but they couldn't qualify.
Yes.
We've been very close with Abedi Pele's group, but it did not happen. So after we beat South Africa, that's when we had the belief that, okay, we can do it. Because at the moment we are at the top, we have to win all the rest of the games.
Yeah.
We know if we win all the games, we are gone. So it's in our hands now. So for us, it gave us a lot of motivation, huge boost for us to qualify the nation. Because we know Ghana is a football nation. Other North African countries have been there. Countries that we won the Nations Cup 3 times before they even came. They've been there several times. And even Nigeria was there. And you know Nigeria, Ghana.
When you use the word even Nigeria.
Exactly. Nigeria was there. So that alone, we also have to be there.
Yes.
You know, so that gave us the motivation, and we know that we have to do everything possible to qualify it. And I was very happy or privileged to have wonderful team around me.
Yeah.
Because the love that we share. You know, I always say that we are not the best group Ghana have ever had, but we love each other. You know, we love each other. And you know,
how can people love each other like that?
Yeah, this is it. We've been friends before we even met in the national team. When you look at Michael Essien and Sule Mutare, they've been friends when they were playing for Liberty Professional.
Yes.
If you look at myself, Stephen Apia, from childhood.
And you were the quartet.
Exactly. So you see the condition.
I do recall, was there some game like this, was it against Congo or something? We're watching on black and white television. You gave a very long pass, diagonal pass to the other end of the pitch, and Stephen Apia trapped the ball, and the whole place clapped. I do recall that.
It comes automatic, you know. So like I said, if you love someone, everything you share with the person easily without thinking. So that's what our strength.
So what kind of a leader was Stephen Apia for this group?
Oh, he's someone that wanted everyone to be on the same platform.
Oh, okay.
You know, he doesn't own anything. You know, we have leaders that they'll be like, oh, I'm the leader.
I'm the leader. Yeah.
Stephen Apia, he makes sure he gives responsibility to everyone.
Everyone on the pitch.
To own it. Even off the pitch. You won't see Stephen Apia addressing the group. You won't see him addressing the group. He believes Essien can do it. He believes John Mensah can do it. He believes I can do it. So most of the times, even calling management meeting is not part of it.
Really?
No, it's not part of it. We do that. He will be there, and then he will be there, and we will do it for him. Yes, that's Stephen Apia for you.
Like you see, speaking to us here on a Prime Take, and it's been quite an interesting conversation so far. I know one thing that got me laughing the most was the Chinchinga aspect. Because for you to rub the Chinchinga to go and buy Kinky shows that there was something somewhere. But like, I will come to the Black Stars participation in the 2006 African Cup of Nations, where you and your mates were not able to have the best of tournament. But before that, tell us briefly, how did you get to Europe?
Yeah, so this is how I got to Europe. The agent, and I will not say it's an agent, the man that took me from Ghana is not an agent.
Oh, okay.
You know, after the 17 World Cup, most of my colleagues, they signed professional contracts.
Yeah, they're gone.
I did not get anything, even the U20s. Domenico Ricci tried to send me to Italy. Went to Venezia. playing for their youth.
Yeah.
Finished my medicals, everything. I have to sign, and Richie said I should come and play the U17, Under 20 World Cup. Thinking after the 20 World Cup,
there will be a bigger offer.
Bigger offer. I came and things doesn't work well, and then Venezia too have signed another player.
Oh.
So I lost that opportunity. So I stayed in Ghana playing in the Ghana Premier League. But this is what happened. I forgot about everything and then focused on my game because I know at the right time I will have that opportunity again. So I moved from Olympics to Hearts of Oak, and that year I said to myself, I'll give everything out, and I believe with Hearts of Oak can push me in the.
What was your career with Hearts of Oak like?
Yeah, it was very short, but the impact I did, the impact I made, was huge. So that's how come Hearts of Oak fans embraced me.
Yeah.
My career with us was very short because I played one full season with them, won the league with them. My second season, then I have a loan spell in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
I went on loan, came back, and then I had a chance to go to Israel. So with me with Hearts season, it was just 2 seasons I'm out of Hearts. But the impact I made was very huge.
And the Hearts of Oak fans adore that.
Exactly.
Now let's come back to the national team. 2006 African Cup of Nations. I don't know if you would like to recall what transpired in that tournament.
Oh yeah, it's part of my career, so I have to say.
Okay, say it.
I don't like thinking about it, but
then say it.
Yeah, because
I remember that opening game against Nigeria when we lost. Yeah. Needed to win against Senegal. Needed a win against Zimbabwe. All of a sudden, it never worked out. Tell us.
Yeah, but before then, most of us were frustrated.
Why?
Yeah, because our team wasn't the same team that
played the
qualifier.
Yeah.
Because in the qualifier, we have strong, solid team.
Yeah.
But if you can recall, before the Nations Cup in Egypt,
yes,
we've missed at least 3-4 key players.
Yes.
Jan was out. Michael Essien was out.
Suleiman Tari was out. Yeah,
Stephen Appiah
had an injury, but still he played.
It wasn't 100%.
Yes, yes.
You know, so for me, I felt the players that I am used to, it's not the same. So already the frustration is there already, not only me, with all the management. So me, I wasn't surprised we did not perform in that tournament.
Okay.
And then also this incident happened against Senegal. Abibe, he punched me. I went down thinking I'm taking advantage of that situation, and then it hit back at me. So I was suspended for 3 games, served 1 against Zimbabwe.
2 more.
2 more in the tournament. But I believe the management then, they don't believe we can go through the group stages. So they feel if they put me in the squad, there's no point. But one thing they forget that not every player in the 23-man squad played. So at least they should do me the honors.
Do you have any regrets of that incident against Senegal?
Yes, of course. I should have run and go for water instead of coming to the scene. I should have run away and go and take water to drink, to cool myself down. But hey, we are a team. It's a team sport. We all have to help each other.
The incident has nothing to do with you?
No, it had nothing to do with me. It was a very bad tackle on Stephen Appiah. And as usual, players will react immediately. And I was the last person that got close to the scene. So it's like players pushing each other, stopping each other, and then Abibe hit me on the chest. But it's not a punch that will take me down, but I want to take advantage on the situation. So I dropped down, and then boom. They said stimulation or something. It's not a point that can take me down. And I got suspended.
And that denied an opportunity of playing at the World Cup?
Yes, that's what happened. And 3 games, 2 to go, Ghana not believing they will go to the next round, so there's no point of me being part of the team.
But do you know if the FA appealed that decision of the red
No,
card?
they did not. Because I quite remember after the incident, I was chasing them to do it. But you know, 24 hours you should do it before 24 hours passed. But eventually the 24 hours passed without them doing anything. I was pushing them to follow up, at least to reduce the ban, but it did not happen.
I spoke to the former GFA president on this very show, and he said that They filed the appeal, but it was filed out of time.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I didn't see the appeal being filed, but
because
if it said so, then we have to believe.
Yeah, because he told me that it was Alex Asante who brought it.
Okay.
And then he was in a room with the former Deputy Sports Minister Obi Amwa, plus another official of the FA that I know.
Okay.
But he said, okay, Alex, you give it to him to file the appeal. So they went on to do other stuff. When they came back to ask him whether he has filed the appeal, he had forgotten
it was too late. You have forgotten, right? Oh, okay. But that's human error. It's part of the game.
But a human error denied you an opportunity to play at the biggest stage in world football.
Yes, I know, but that's life, you know. It's life. You never know. Maybe if I'm in the World Cup, I won't be sitting here now.
Briefly, the 2010 World Cup that you were dropped was a surprising thing that anyone anywhere could have thought of.
Yeah, that's what killed me. It killed me because in my mind, I've made my mind that after that tournament, I'm done with the national team. That's going to be my last tournament or my last game in the national team because I believe I was aging and I believe I need energy to focus on my football club career because I know I've done a lot for the national team. So after that tournament, I've achieved everything that I want to achieve as a player, the World Cup. And let me focus with this few little energy that I have. Let me focus on my football club career. So that was the mind. And also, my contract was running out with Arts.
Yes.
6 months in my contract. They were offering me a contract, but they want a pay cut.
Yes.
Because their budget has dropped. So they want me to take off. And I'm thinking, if I go to the World Cup, one game in the World Cup can raise my budget up again. So I was waiting to go to the World Cup and then make a better offer. I was dropped, came back, and that contract did not come again.
You were demoralized, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I was. At some point, my wife had to follow me everywhere in the house. When I moved from France, from France to Scotland, my wife had to follow me everywhere. I go upstairs, she's there. I want to go out.
Were you depressed or something?
Oh yeah. It took me time to go over it because I felt that's the last moment. At that moment, I felt, okay, it's over. With the World Cup, for me, it's over. Because the next 4 years will be 2014. 2014, I've retired already.
What did the coaches say? What explanation did the coaches say for dropping you?
For him, there's not tangible reason, but the only thing he said to me was, because my question to him was, what was the criteria you used to pick? Because you have to look at players who are playing regular, doing well in their clubs. And that time I was the key player in Arts. Talk about the qualifier, I was key player in the team.
Yeah.
But I know the coach maybe he took me out because of different reasons. Because of different reasons, but not talking about performance.
And what would have been that reason?
I don't know. I'm still waiting to find the answers. I'm still waiting to find someone that will come and tell me because of this you were dropped. Because looking at the squad that we have, 23, there's no way you tell me I cannot make into the 23-man squad. And he said, okay. The other thing that he said was, you remember there was a Nations Cup?
Yes.
Before?
The 2010 Nations Cup in Angola.
Angola. He said most of the senior players caused problems because they were not starting the game. And he is thinking, you have so much respect for me to be on the bench. So the best thing for me to be out of the squad.
But he took Steven.
He took Steven, yes, exactly.
So that's the question. That explanation cannot suffice.
That's the question.
What was your reaction when he told you were not going to be part of that squad?
I was disappointed. I was disappointed. And I quite remember the management were addressing me that, oh, there are more games. You know, the normal...
Yeah, more opportunities to come.
Yeah, more opportunities. I said, no, I'm not a small boy anymore. 2014, no way. 2014, no way.
Did you bang a door on them?
Yes, I did. I did. I was shattered. At that moment, I was like, I don't see myself doing anything else. Like, I don't know what was going on. And you know, when you talk about this situation, trust me, my walk to that meeting room, I could have died on the way. Because it was like 10 p.m. in the evening. That's when they called me a meeting. And automatically my mind was telling me, no, there is something wrong. I got in and I saw like a bunch of people there in the room.
Who was in the meeting?
Oh, I can remember about 4 or 5 of them. 4 or 5.
The coach?
The coach,
the FA president.
Former president Nyantichi, Fred Papu, and I think other 2 or 3 guys in the room. And they told me, we have, when they started saying...
Okay, let me share one interesting story with you. And this story, I got it from both Kwesi Nyantichi and Fred Papu. Apparently, they had all argued why you should be at the tournament. And Milo gave them the list and told them to take out the player they want to take out and replace you. And none of them could do it for him.
So what was his reason for not taking me? What was Milo's reason? That's what I want to ask.
Well, okay, so I cannot speak for them.
Yeah.
But based on what they told me, because this is on record, based on what they told me, Milo had suggested that if you were going to play, you were going to play through the right.
Yeah.
And the only place he could find a place for you was in the middle. In the right, he said he had Nkum and John Pencil for the right.
Fullback.
Well,
right fullback.
And then,
right.
No. If you're going to play the right side. And
all
then
those
in the
players.
middle,
Sorry to cut you. All those players you've mentioned, they are right fullbacks.
But
they are not wingers.
And even in the tournament, he used Nkum.
And you see what happened?
Maybe he needed someone who could cover up for John Pencil.
Come on.
Yeah, okay, you're a coach. So some of these things you can appreciate.
Come on. Right fullback and right wing are different things.
Okay, so
the quality that I have, that's what I've used to help him, Milo, to achieve a lot of games, to win a lot of games. It should come out clean and say, okay. Because
this explanation came from Fred Papu and
Milo should come out clean and tell Ghanaians that he want me to sign with his agent, and I did turn it down.
Milo asked you to sign for his agent and you refused?
Yes. From what you are telling me that he gave the list to them, okay, to the management and said, okay, remove anyone from it and put me in. That shows that he had something against me. Because he offered me for his agent, and I turned it down.
Did you tell the FA this?
No.
Why?
No, I didn't.
Why did you not tell them?
I felt it's not necessary. It's between me and him. But for what you are telling me now, that he gave the list to the management and told them to take whoever they should take out. You can't tell me that 23-man squad you took to the tournament. I cannot fit into that system. No chance. No chance.
No, I'm quite surprised to hear this. So are you suggesting that most of the players that Milo accepted to go to the World Cup with them, some of them agreed to sign for his agent?
Most of them, especially the younger ones that made the team. If you go check the background, they signed with Milo's agent. Yes.
Most of those players signed?
Yeah.
Like how many?
Oh, a lot. Especially the younger ones that came through. Especially the younger ones.
Okay, because if you talk about the younger ones, I can talk of Nkum, I can talk of Jonathan Mensah, Andre Ayew, Dominic Adia.
Yes. All those boys, they were Milo's agent. I forget his name. I met them in Egypt. Myself, Milo, and him met them in Egypt. He was talking about Blackburn deal. So I have to sign with them. All I did was give my agent's number, talk to my agent. That's it. They never got back to me. So it looks like, for what you are telling me today, made me understand that, okay, then he had problem with me. So when you look at it, he's not thinking about the nation. He's not thinking about what he can do with the squad that he has. He's thinking about what he can achieve.
If you've just joined us, we are still speaking to Laye Kingston. a former Black Stars player, a former Hearts of Oak player, a former Hearts, I mean the Hearts in Scotland, not the Hearts you know, player. And he's a man who also played for Hearts of Oak Rivals, played for Olympics. That's where his career actually began. He's been sharing with us his story, how he got to the football space, how he started out as a boxer. Now we're talking about his national team career, where he wanted to play the World Cup, something that never happened. Like you say, you mentioned something that is quite interesting, that you did admit that when you were told that you were not going to the World Cup 2010, you banged the door on the people who invited you to the meeting. But one thing too that others have also argued was that, just like you personally mentioned, you knew you were Asian and 2010 World Cup was supposed to be like, how should I put it, your swan song to the national team. There are others who have also said that Milo did something when the team was camping in France. He decided to play the younger players against the senior players so that he could select his team. And that probably also influenced his decision on who to go to the World Cup and who not to go. And not your position that because he wanted you to sign for his agent, that's why he didn't take you to the tournament.
Yeah, I quite remember the training camp that we went.
Yes.
We did not even train. All we did is advert for Puma, left, right, center. The only time that we went on the football pitch proper for us to have football boots to go and train is when we got there, after warm-up, then he divided the team into two. And it showed clearly that you can see the younger players on one side and the older players on one side.
Yes.
But you cannot stand on that one training game.
But the younger players beat the senior players. I hear was it 4-1 or 5-1?
Yeah, but it's in training. It can happen to be like most of the senior players, we go into the World Cup, it's training, you have to be careful, take it easy. You cannot stand on one game to pick your final 23. No, you've already made his mind already. It should be, I'm a technical person. I should be very transparent enough for Ghanaians. If I'm being picked as a national coach, I'll be very transparent to Ghanaians that, and I will justify each and every, explain why this player is there, this player is not there. I will not hide behind anything. With him, I think he has something more than,
on a hindsight,
more than using that one training game to make the 23-man squad.
On a hindsight, Lai, do you think you should have reported this incident to the management of the FA that Milo wants you to sign for his agency and you are refusing to do it? On a hindsight, do you think you should have reported?
For me, I believe that time I should be more professional to keep it on for myself and then for Milo himself. You understand me? I don't want...
No, but as someone who has the interest of the nation at heart, you cannot allow someone, a Serbian to be that, for that matter, who was being paid with the taxpayers' money,
but that moment,
doing business with the national team at the expense of the state. So as someone who had the interest of the state at heart, you should have told the leadership of the FA, this is what your coach is doing.
I quite remember before leaving the room, if the management will recollect, before I banged the door, the only thing I said to Milo is, he should finish his business and then get out of my country.
You told Milo to finish his business and get out of his
country. Get out of my country. So that time, I said it.
You shouldn't have waited for him to finish his business.
But that time, he's the boss. If decided, if taking me out of the team already. So when I was leaving, if the management will testify, this is the right words I said to him. Finish doing your business and go away from my country. That's what I said to him. That's the exact words I said to me, and then went and then banged the door. I was fuming that time because it was very difficult for me. It was very tough for me. And me, I'm very honest. I say it as it is. I was very honest. I showed everybody around the team that no, I was really hurt.
Do you sometimes feel that you were never destined to play at the World Cup?
Now I would say yes, because my career is over. But I still believe I can be there as different positions.
Maybe as a coach or something?
Yes, of course. So far as I'm in the game, I've not given up. I have to enjoy that thing. I have to feel it.
Welcome back on the AM show. Time now for our big story for today. What do you think government should focus on? We've delved into the issue of the economy, agriculture, education, but by way of governance and corruption, what do you think government should be doing in the year 2023? Or is it going to be situation normal? What should we be doing as a country? Well, joining us for that conversation on governance and corruption-related issues, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante is a political scientist at the University of Ghana. We also have Vitus Azim, an anti-graft campaigner. Paul Wachidankwa, he is government spokesperson on governance and security. They join us for this conversation. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you. I know some of you are not in town, so I don't know whether it's morning where you are, but thank you for connecting.
Thank you very much, Bernard, and a very good morning and Happy New Year.
All right, so the name is Benjamin. Whom did I just hear?
Paul Grave, Wachidankwa.
Paul Grave, good to have you. I see you are out and about. I hope it's going well where you are. Happy New Year to all of you, though.
Yes, thank you, Benjamin.
Great.
You too.
Good morning.
So let's start the conversation reflecting on those two crucial matters. A few things will come in, but let's talk governance and how we fared, governance and corruption. This is just a brief bit that I'd like to get from you. Summary comments on what 2020 looked like for you. We heard from the Afro Barometer in terms of corruption-related issues. Then we had the Ghana Statistical Service collaborating with other institutions to bring us a practical, a real tenor of what corruption looks like in the institutions of the state. And then in terms of governance, from the executive to the legislative body to the judiciary, what did you see happen? Let me also, before I throw that question to you, gentlemen, let me also introduce Reverend Father Joseph Blay. He is an anti-Galamsey campaigner. Padre, thank you for joining the conversation. You would have to unmute, Padre.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. Since you just joined us, let me start with you. What would be your reflection on the year 2022 in terms of governance? What did you see? There was a point where the Catholic Bishops' Conference had to come wading into the issues of Galamsey, wading into the issues of corruption and government's commitment to it. In these two areas, governance, the three arms of government, and corruption, how do you think we fared in 2022? Briefly.
Thank you very much. So I think in terms of corruption and governance, especially in the light of our Galamsey, you could see that our leadership or our governance have not been up to the task, because we have all the instruments here in Ghana. Our legislative are very, very clear. So all that we needed is just the governments or those who are responsible, their goodwill, just to put the laws and the legislations into implementation. And that is what we have not seen. And that is why Galamsey continues. The same thing applies also to corruption. Up to now, we have the special prosecutor, where up to now we have not seen any serious prosecution that is going on, even though they are doing some investigation. So what we want to see in leadership is just to implement the laws. Democracy is all about the rule of law.
Thank you for those initial comments. This is just interesting for me, though. Let me bring it in. It's one of my pet anti-projects, if you like. You're a reverend minister, a reverend father. What do you make of the National Cathedral project? I always give a bit of a background to it. We've spent some 339 million. 225 of that going into the construction, about 114 million going to pay David Ajay and Associates, the consultants for the project. And in recent times, 80 million was jettisoned by Parliament because they said there was no guarantee. It couldn't be explained what the money was going to be used for as far as the project is concerned. But looking at it as a reverend minister, how would you react to the National Cathedral project and the stance of government that it must be completed before 2024 or by 2024?
Thank you very much. I think here, in terms of the cathedral, Ghana is a very religious country. Our people are religious. And sometimes we play on the religiosity of our people. But religion is also to make the life of the people meaningful. So we look at our own present situation. The other issue that I would say, or the most important thing about the cathedral, putting all the costs involved aside, if we are building a national cathedral, cathedral is meant for different religions, then the question is, what is going to be the spirituality of this cathedral? Because there must be a church, a particular church that is going to minister and take care of it. Let's take the example of Yamoussoukro, when Houphouët Boigny built the basilica. He was a Catholic, he entrusted in the Catholic Church. So you have one denomination that is in charge of its spirituality. In terms of Ghana, Ghana is a multi-Christianity. So we have different people who is going there. So in this case, the National Cathedral, what is going to be the spirituality of it? And then some are even proposing, if it is something natural, then anybody claiming to be a Christian, claiming to have a different faith, can also have the right to go there and then practice their faith.
Interesting take. Let me come to Dr. Asa Asante on the issue of governance. And if you want to chip in on the National Cathedral, that's fine. I know we've spoken about it time and again, so I will not necessarily go there. But governance and corruption and how we fared in 2022. Your reflection.
We realize that issue of corruption, even though government did its best, we're still struggling to deal with the canker of corruption. Transparency International report indicates that we're about, I think, 43%. And that means that the closer, their explanation is that the closer you are to zero, the more corrupt you are.
Right.
Or your inability to fight corruption comes to the fore. So from that point, you realize that, yes, even though we're putting all measures in place, the perception of corruption was very high. And we had a number of reports also from within the system, including civil society groups, such as Catholic Bishop Conference, also harping on that, and then, exposing some of these problems. It has been a very difficult journey towards the fight against this problem. I don't know how we are going to deal with it because from where I sit, I know that if we are really serious about it, we'll be able to fight it head on. But for me, what I am seeing, I have no doubt in my mind that we are only paying lip service. So if we don't change that attitude, I'm afraid it's going to take a long time for us, or even forever, to fight this. And if you look at the money that gets through our fingers relative to corruption, it's huge. GII, Ghana Integrity Initiative, has been telling us that close to about $3 billion we lose to corruption yearly. Look at the money we are getting from IMF and all that. If we are able to manage corruption well, we'll get the governance architecture right, and everybody will be home and dry. That is one. If you look at even waste within the system, and there's a lot of evidence from the Auditor General's report, financial irregularities within the public sector, a lot of resources get used wrongly, and they affect us so well. And let us remember that when we're talking about governance, simply put, we are talking about the use of state resources to make life better for human beings. So it tells you that we are not able to manage resources very well to support the population of this country. That is a big blot on our governance credential that in 2023, I expect the government to right the wrong.
Let me come to Vitus Azim, who is an anti-graft campaigner. I listened to you yesterday reflecting on corruption, especially in reference to what Special Prosecutor Kisi Ajabeng had been saying, that he doesn't feel that commitment is there in the fight against corruption. And some people have found it shocking that he should say this, especially on the back of what has transpired with the first Special Prosecutor, Martin Amidu. What is your brief reflection? Later we'll come back to the core issue of corruption, but what is your brief reflection, assessment of governance, corruption, and how we fared as a country last year?
It's a sign of poor governance, and so the two are related. And for me, I would say that as a country, we failed in our efforts to curb or at least minimize corruption. We have failed because, for us, succeeding in dealing with corruption involves promptly investigating credible allegations of corruption and either recovering monies or prosecuting those that have been found to be implicated. This, we don't see much of it, especially even from the anti-corruption state institutions. We don't see much. They say that, okay, when they're working, they don't have to be telling us what they are doing. But as public institutions, if you are working in silence, it's difficult for us to know what you are doing. The other side of it is that on the side of government, unfortunately, government seems to be defending corruption rather than dealing with corruption. For example, yesterday I heard the president already saying that the particular mining company is not engaging in illegal mining. Yet the Office of Special Prosecutor says they are going to investigate this incident. So when you come out upfront to already defend an allegation without waiting for the state institution that you put in place to carry out investigation, that is unfortunate. But just to say that with regards to the National Cathedral, we should not rejoice that Parliament rejected the 80 million vote cities allocation to the National Cathedral, because the Minister of Finance told us during the investigation that there is a budget line called contingency vote, which he used to fund the National Cathedral. Some of us called on Parliament not to approve that contingency vote this year. What Parliament did was only to reduce it, but it's far above the 80 million that the minister was asking for the National Cathedral. So it's another endorsement of the minister's decision to use that contingency vote to fund the National Cathedral, because it's just a budget line. It doesn't belong to any sector. It doesn't belong to any MDA. It's just a budget line inserted in the appendices. So it's like a pool of money just put aside without being allocated to any specific activity to allow the government to do what it wants with that money. And this is what the Parliament has done by approving that allocation. I've heard NDC boasting that they have been able to cut it down. Cutting it down still above the 80 million that the minister was asking for is no cutting down. The National Cathedral is going to go ahead. And let me add that the present economic crisis is partly attributable to corruption. And if we don't deal with corruption,
the current economic crisis is partly attributable to corruption. That's what you're saying?
Yes. Because, you see, when we borrow excessively and we don't use the money very well, we don't see the outcomes of the money. I mean, the loans. And it is believed that some of these things pass through our fingers. How are we going to pay back those loans?
Hello, Vitus.
Yes, I'm done with my initial reflections, sir.
Thank you for those comments. Let me bring in now Paul Wachidankwa. He is government spokesperson on governance and security. This is smack down your alley, the issues we're talking about. For you, what would be your candid reflection on the year 2022 by way of governance and corruption? We'll expand it, but what is your assessment?
A happy New Year to you, Benjamin, and
Thank
good
you,
morning.
and same to you.
I'm very certain that 2022 was a very challenging year for our government. Howbeit, on the governance front, you are very well aware that as the global issues were presented to us as a country,
right,
we sought to mitigate those very immediate challenges on the Ghanaian people. In the midst of that, the government sought for an IMF conversation, and at the tail end of last year, 2022, we reached a staff-level agreement. Now, on corruption, you would be very clear to see that President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has tried and attempted very well in his quest to bring corruption to the barest minimum. Now, we can pick it in various sectors. Having looked at the fight against Galamsey, the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, together with his minister, the Honorable John Abu-Janapo, Samuel Abu-Janapo, clearly held stakeholder meetings and reactivated Operation Halt 2, with which we have seen some high level of persons that are involved in illegal mining being arraigned before the law court. I'm in no doubt in my mind that our quest against the fight against Galamsey and our quest to minimize corruption is one that needs to be emulated. You'll recall that as at last year, September 30th, 2022, the Auditor General retrieved close to about 1.282733.90 million Ghana cedis from some inappropriations. I'm certain that in this year, the Auditor General would be able to recover a lot more of those monies. You'll recall how...
Is it, pardon the interjection, is it a proper system we have, and of course that may border on tweaking the law, when you will allow people to engage in these anti-economic activities, squander state money, money that belongs to all of us taxpayers, and then now try to get part of that back, especially when they could have profited from the sums involved. I don't want to bring in the Atuesian issue. That's a different issue and how people feel about it. But generally, the framework of the Auditor General's department and this whole bit about after the fact, post the fact, people have engaged in all kinds of nefarious activity. You recall that the Finance Ministry had been paying 3 people who could not even be found in the Finance Ministry. And later, we were told that these people, the sums had been recovered, and what had happened to these people, no one knows. So how do you find that in terms of the fight against corruption?
Well, Benjamin, I have seen that our government and the government of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has sought to run a paperless economy and a cashless economy. Now, as a result of that, we are gradually and increasingly reducing corruption. We have digitalized the Ghanaian economy, and in digitalizing the Ghanaian economy, you are aware how transactions are done. It will take a bit more time for us to reach the state that we all desire, but our government has sought to address these issues head on. I mean, and you go to the ports, you realize that it's paperless. A number of events are going digital. So all those state agencies where you would ordinarily need to be using money to be purchasing things or services, goods and services from government, a number of those have been reduced to paperless and cashlight. And so it's reducing very clearly. And I'm very certain that a number of the policies that we do put in place, it's our quest to be able to fight against corruption to the highest level.
Let me now look at this issue. Some people, including your co-panelists, some of them disagree with you in terms of, on the score of the president's commitment to fighting corruption and Galamsey. And for the first time last year, we saw those reports that I cited, collaborations with the Ghana Statistical Service on the real deal, not the perception of corruption, but the reality of corruption. In terms of Galamsey, and shortly I'll bring in Reverend Father Joseph Blay, the president put his presidency on the line to rid the system of Galamsey. Do you think that has succeeded?
Well, the president indeed put his presidency on the line to put an end to Galamsey. I am certain that the president has attempted in a number of ways to ensure that people's desire to be involved in illegal mining comes to an end. That is why I've stated all throughout last year, the president himself held a stakeholder meeting with all the chiefs in Meshia. The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources had a recce, and the president handed over the fight against Galamsey to the Ghana Armed Forces, Operation Hot 2. In the midst of that, you will see very clearly how we have clamped down and we have decommissioned other Galamsey sites by taking away some excavators and ensuring that our water bodies really come back to the normal states in which we found it as a Ghanaian people. You would also recall how the Minerals Commission has brought in a mercury machine to ensure that people that are involved in legal mining use those mercury machines, and rather than destroying water bodies, stay away from water bodies. Our government as well has sought to reclaim lands. I'm aware of how the efforts that the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources and our government has put in place to reclaim lands that have been left for years. And so it's a gradual process, but I think that we don't need to pat ourselves at the back, but our government has really tackled Galamsey head-on than any government. I mean, and Benjamin, I'm sure your panelists would agree to it, that the President and Dankwa Akufo-Addo's desire and fight against Galamsey continually is on the backbench of it. And we need to commend the President and commend the government for ensuring that Galamsey is becoming one of the things that people will not be interested in. And then also we have also given licenses to other small miners who were involved in mining that but they didn't have licenses. We have made sure that all of them have received their license so they can be able to mine responsibly. So it's all about responsible mining. And I think that the Galamsey conversation has been at the forefront of this country, primarily because President has considered it very important for us as a government.
Let me just add this before I move on to my other guests. Very briefly, the IMF is supposedly engaging international creditors on cancelling Ghana's debt. We are in a hole, a very deep hole, and we're still looking forward to, getting it right when it comes to our debt sustainability so we can get an IMF deal. How optimistic are you about that? That is also part of governance. How optimistic are you?
Very, very, very optimistic about the IMF. It took a bit more shorter time for us to reach a staff level agreement from July of 2022 to December of 2022. In 5 months, we have been able to present our program, our enhanced program, to the IMF team. We have had a number of conversations with them. We raised some levels and even started with a debt exchange program at the tail end of 2022. We are confident that the debt that Ghana has accrued over the years has come to the attention of the IMF and even the global challenges as a result. We are certain that in addition to the conversations that is ongoing at the moment in cancelling our debt, the IMF is also going to give us $3 billion over the next 3 years to ensure that our debt to GDP...
Are you saying that for a fact, or are you saying that in hope?
So we have had various conversations. You'll recall that when we read the staff level agreements, the IMF local representatives stated that they were going to present a program to the board, and we are certain that they're going to give us $3 billion. I'm confident that we would get $3 billion from the IMF over the next 3 years, and it's going to ensure that the economy bounces back very stronger. In addition to our own local and internal mechanisms of raising revenue and ensuring that the Ghanaian people are adequately responsible in paying their taxes, and also ensuring that the Ghanaian people are seeing that their taxes are working for them, their roads are being built, their hospitals are being built, their schools are being built, they have seen various infrastructure, which is a key mechanism for our government. And I'm sure that you will see that in this year as we have begun.
All right. I merely had to bring that up because the mere fact that you ask for a certain sum doesn't mean the IMF will eventually give you the entirety of that. In fact, sometimes they give you more, but at other times they would give you even less. So, but I see that this is hinged on optimism. But let me come to Reverend Father Joseph Blay. You are an anti-Galamsey campaigner. Looking at all the things, last year my colleague Erastus Asari Donko put together a documentary, on Galamsey, and I was stunned. I mean, I've seen many things, but when you look at the cocktail, when it comes to our water bodies and the way they have become, some of them look like some beverage, and some even looking like carrot juice. But the point to be made, the president put his presidency on the line. Interestingly, we have heard from the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference and myriad civil society organizations on the threat of Galamsey. Maybe to rub salt in the wounds of campaigners, the president is speaking, interacting with Catholic faithful in Koforidua, and then he makes mention of the fact that, look, Akonta mining, which has been cited for some infractions and which is being investigated by the special prosecutor, well, they are not engaged in any wrongdoing, according to Mr. President. I'll give some more details on that. But yes, the president says, just to quote him before you come in, "Let me respond briefly to the chairperson on the issue of illegal mining. I want to assure him and all of you that Akonta Mining is not engaged in any illegal mining activities in any part of the country as we speak. Further, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources has, through the Forestry Commission and with the assistance of the military, cordoned off all 294 sites of forest reserves in the country and rid them of illegal mining as we speak." But the question has been posed, how about retrospectively? How about what has been done in the Nimre Forest? Youth in the Samreboy area are protesting, and they say they don't want to see any entity mining in that enclave. The fight against corruption, are we getting it right? And how do you react to the president's latest rhetoric?
Thank you very much. Anytime our Catholic bishops come out to speak, they speak with evidence because they do their researches, they consult experts, and then it's a conference of about 20 or more bishops who are experts themselves in different fields. So they come out with a statement, they know what they are saying. That's the first point I will make. So when our bishops say that, well, the country is being threatened by Galamsey, you have shown so many pictures on the internet in different media houses, and Ghana is being threatened by Galamsey. The first issue is water. My research, I've done, my dissertation was on phenomenological study of artisanal gold mining in Ghana, poverty, rural poverty, aggravation or mitigation. And my research shows that it is aggravating rural poverty. So the first threat is water, where some projections were made that in 2023, Ghana will begin to import water. And you believe with me or agree with me that practically many towns or many people in Ghana are now drinking sachet water. Places where there are rivers flowing, they all have to bore water because the waters have become so polluted. Further projections is saying that by 2030, Ghana is going to import water. And I don't doubt it. If it continues like this, it's going to happen. So now the issue of, let me just even bring in something more. When we are talking about Galamsey, we should not only look at it parochially. The threat of Galamsey is beyond Ghana, because every threat that Galamsey is posing is against the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, Agenda 2030. So in this Agenda 2030, we are talking about no poverty. We are talking about no hunger. We are talking about good health. We are talking about education. We are talking about gender balance. We are talking about water. We are talking about fair, clean employment, and so on. We are talking about aquatic life. We are talking about terrestrial living. And all these things are threatened by Galamsey. So how can there be no poverty when Galamsey is mining? Look at the picture that is on. This is in Asimkrum, a place about 3 kilometers from my village in Jema, and this is found in the Western North region, in the Awin, this municipality. Now, just as I'm speaking, there was a Galamsey excavator transported there to go and mine against the will of the people. These people have written a letter with 20 points explaining why they don't want Galamsey in their town. And they wrote this letter as a petition to the Chief Executive Officer of the Mineral Commission, copied to the President, the Vice President, IGP, MCE, Regional Minister, District Police Commander, Divisional Police Commander, all responsible agents. As I'm speaking, I have not received any reply to these letters. So this is the threat that Galamsey is bringing. So Galamsey is going to aggravate poverty. Galamsey is going to aggravate famine, food. So food is going to be scarce. And some of the researches I did in a place, Wasa Hinyawa, Wasa Bekwai, they said, Father, in this forest, we are importing food. These are people who are supposed to import food to Kumasi and Accra. They are rather importing food because all the arable land has been destroyed. So there are so many issues in terms of education. Now the president has given free education up to SSF, which is something very good. But what happens if the children, the very children that we want to be educated, are abandoning the schools because of Galamsey? And there are so many videos, so many footages of children, very young children, between 8, 9, 10, who are at Galamsey site. So then what happens to the investment that we are making in the education? Everything comes to naught. The same thing applies to health. We have done researches, I think recently, just last year, some 3-4 months ago, the pathological department of Komfanoche Hospital, Kumasi, came out with children who have been affected by mercury. In my own municipality, Enchi Sewom, a midwife came out, and that was brushed aside. A midwife came out showing children who are born without organs, no eyes, no nose, because the river Deboyne, which is the only source of drinking water for the people, is full of mercury, and mercury has its effect. The funny thing is that Ghana is always the one to sign. We are one of the first signatories to set up most of these international conventions. The Minamata Convention Against Mercury, Ghana is a signatory, and our waters are polluted with mercury. Now, let me come back to the president's comment. You know, the president is a very intelligent man. He is a seasoned lawyer. And it's unfortunate, the first time that I heard, I received the mail yesterday, I said, let me go and read the source, the context of this quotation. So when I came again to Joy, and I read, and it was within our own Catholic conference, that is the Catholic Diocesan Priest Union, who were having their union, and then they invited the president. The chairman asked a question. So the president said, let me answer to this question. But just that the answer is a little unfortunate because it can throw dust into the eyes of people. However, I thank God that as Catholic priests, we study the minimum of 2 years philosophy. If we analyze the president's statement in the context of philosophy, logically, he is saying that as we speak, Akwanta mining is not engaged in any illegal mining in anywhere in Ghana. As we speak, that was Wednesday, 4th January 2023. So as at that time, Akwanta mining was not involved, but Akwanta mining has been involved before that time. And it was not involved because the land commission, the land minister for land and natural resources have sanctioned and instructed Akwanta mining to withdraw all its equipment from the forest. So the president did not say, or the president, on the other hand, is confirming what has been alleged. And this time is even more than allegation because the evidence are clear. So the president is confirming that now he is not, but how about before? He didn't say that before Akwanta mining has not been involved. Neither was he also saying that after. So he is saying what has happened, and what has happened is because Akwanta mining was involved in illegal mining, the land commissioner has asked, the land minister has asked him to withdraw all his equipment. There are evidences. The Semra Boy youth have been communicating with them. They have all stood up firmly against. So the president is talking about the effect of what has happened. He's not vindicating, neither is he saying that Akwanta mining has not been involved. So practically for me, it's rather confirming what has been alleged. Philosophically, logically, that is what it means.
It's good you bring in the philosophical angle, because I don't think it is lost on us when the president says, as we speak, but the optics of it, what it evinces. You remember the Charles Bissiou issue and how it was handled. Now the special prosecutor has gone back to that issue. He was clear. The special prosecutor is investigating. Same way the special prosecutor is investigating Akonta mining. The question on people's minds, with the president saying this, and I quote again, let me respond briefly to the chairperson on the issue of illegal mining. I want to assure him and all of you that Akonta mining is not engaged in any illegal activities in any part of the country as we speak. Smacks of patting the entity on the back. And should the president have been the one to say that? Especially when Chairman Wontumi is, and that is the Ashanti regional chairman of his party, the NPP. That is where people find it problematic. OSP is investigating. President comes out to say this. What does that mean?
Yeah, that is why I said I find it very unfortunate. Because if we are to go deep into it, Ghana is a democratic country, and we have three strong arms of government: the executive, the legislative, and then the judiciary. So this is something that is the competence of the judiciary. So something that is under investigation, why don't we leave the judiciary to come out and say that, well, we have done the investigation, and thank you, we have the OSP who is doing it. Come out, and then we have done the investigation. But for the president to come out and say that, well, if we don't take care, as I said, he can throw dust into the eyes of the majority. But then let us also analyze it and see that, yes, what he has said, he is rather maybe even stabbing the Akonta mining from the back. Because he is saying, as we speak. Because as we speak, Akonta mining has been sanctioned. As we speak, there is an injunction from the land minister saying that Akonta mining withdraw. So if Akonta mining has not been involved in illegal mining, why would the minister tell him or give him an injunction to withdraw? If Akonta mining has not been involved in the illegal mining, where do we get all the evidences? And then here we have to define what is illegal mining. Because illegal mining in Ghana now is not only those who are not having licenses. In my dissertation, I defined illegal mining as any form of mining that is against the stipulated legislation. So the evidences, pictures that we got from Akonta mining, we have a lot of excavated lands that are not filled. What does the Act, the Minerals and Mining Act says? That after you have done the small-scale mining, you must reclaim the land for the people. You must not enter into reserved forests. You must not enter there without licenses, without the permission of the environmental protection, without the consent of the people. One of the information I received is that after Akonta mining has been sanctioned, now he comes back in retrospect to bring a letter to the people to sign to ask for their consent. And that is illegal. You cannot enter into people's property to do something without their consent. So you see, Ghana has a lot of laws, and if we respect each other, we are going to live very peacefully. If there is a project that is a national project, take for example the Akosombo Dam, when Kwame Nkrumah was building the Akosombo Dam, people were living there, they are having their farms, but that is a national interest, a national project. So Kwame Nkrumah compensated them, and then the law even said that in the Land Act, when the government needs a land for a national project, even sometimes you can seize it by force. But Akonta mining is a private project. So somebody's private property, why should he infringe the rights of others? Don't they also have the right to live? Don't the people living along the tunnel have the right to live? One of the videos I received, a certain fisherman said, even the morphology, the formation of the fishes have changed because of the mercury. They spend all the day, all the hours on the river, there is no fish. Don't they have the right to live? So Akonta mining has been involved in illegal mining. So to say that as we speak is just playing on words and then throwing the dust, because, excuse me to say, how many of us Ghanaians have reached that intellectual level to take and analyze it and philosophize it and say that, well, you said this, but that's not what we are saying. What we are saying is that Akonta mining has been involved in illegal mining before Wednesday, 4 January 2023, as the president spoke.
Before I bring in the other panelists on the same issue, I want us to just take a look again at what Mr. President said at that confab in Koforidua.
Take my seat. Let me respond briefly to the chairperson on the issue of illegal mining. I want to assure him and all of you that Akonta Mining is not engaged in any illegal mining anywhere in Ghana as we speak.
Dr. Asa Asante, quick reaction to the fight against Galamsey and the president's positioning on this matter in recent times.
It doesn't really help in the fight against corruption. In illegal mining, because let's look at it from this point of view that we are a democratic country, and then we are governed by rules and regulations. So if somebody is accused and there is investigation, one would have expected the president to exercise restraint so that the investigation will be concluded and we'll know whether indeed Akonta Mining is wrong or is, has committed an alleged crime. All right. So for the president to come out to say that, yes, he is not doing that, that is going to stifle the investigation. And if care is not taken, it can undermine the whole effort at fighting corruption. That said, I believe that if we look at how we have approached the issue of Galamsey, I still want to maintain my point that we are not ready to fight it. Because I can't understand why the state has capacity to make sure that its rules are observed and the state is able to enforce the rules religiously. And yet we still have people who engage in Galamsey, destroying the ecosystem for us, and then, the activities posing serious threats to the survival of the state. Why am I saying that? If you look at the activities of illegal mining, it has a whole lot of issues that we are failing to observe. One, it in no time, I am sure, is going to affect our relationship with our neighbors. Côte d'Ivoire, for instance, that you pollute the water here and then they make use of the water there. This is a water that is not potable because it is polluted with all sorts of poisonous substances and all that. Very soon, if we don't take care, we are going to be hauled within certain international bodies to answer questions on that. And we have just not taken this matter seriously. If you look at the health hazard that it poses to people, which one of the panelists did give us elaborate view about that, it poses serious health challenge to this country. And look at this, the country that we are struggling to even maintain some semblance of health care in this country. And yet we are inviting more trouble for ourselves. Come to look at even the economy itself. Food production is being threatened. The poverty is going to grow very high, and a whole lot. And all that we get from those who have been given political power is that we are fighting, we are doing our best, and we are even doing better and all that. Is it the case that we are doing well? The evidence is not far-fetched. Look at the surface of water in those areas. It tells you that we are just paying less step. I am worried because as a student of politics, the state is more crucial than any other thing to me, because it is that entity that houses all the various political systems and economic and whatever systems within the state. So as soon as there is a threat in any form or shape, then I'm worried. But it appears that we continue to say this, and they all fall on deaf ears of the government. I believe that 2023, the government will look at these things and then help us to deal with it. It is in the interest of the government to make sure that these things are checked and addressed head on, because they have implications for elections, implications for our very survival and whatnot. So I don't want to belabor the point, but it feeds into the governance architecture that in terms of state capacity, we are weak. If you look at the regulatory capacity of the state, that is the ability of the state to come out with laws and enforce them. The first hurdle we always cross, we come out with laws. As to whether we are able to enforce them, that is another thing. We don't. And let us remember that once you get all the state capacities wrong, regulatory capacity, administrative capacity, making use of all the resources that is given to us by God and the ones that we create, all right, effectively. If we get them wrong, and then we get also the, the technical capacity, that is policies, we get our policies right. If we are not able to get all these things, and then the third of it, I am afraid, it takes us to the realm of what failed state, which none of us, and I will say again, none of us is ready for experience from weak states. All right. So I think it is incumbent upon the government that all these ideas or advice that we are giving to the government will reflect on them and make the best use of them if they really want to govern.
Let me come to Vitus Azim. So according to Dr. Asa Asante, he finds it disappointing that the president went on that tangent. And again, he says if we don't get things right in some of these areas, we could be approaching the status of a failed state. Vitus, what do you think of this Galamsey menace and the recent, rhetoric around it from the president and others, including the OSP?
If in a country where you have government officials and party officials engaging in serious business, establishing companies and undertaking serious business without regard to the laws of the country, fighting corruption or fighting Galamsey it's not going to be a failure. Because why should the president, Akunda Mining has a managing director, he has an owner, he should be the one defending the company and not the president of the country, especially when the president has put his presidency online if he fails. But of course, these are people that probably fund the party. And so when you have it, so the president sometimes makes these unfortunate statements, putting the personal interest above that of the state. We are not going to succeed in the fight against Galamsey for two reasons. One, the individuals benefiting from it are in very key positions. They have power and can disobey the laws with impunity. But secondly, it is also political because of the lack of employment in the country. The youth are turning to it. And so a political party or a government of the day will be afraid, will be hesitant in drastically dealing with Galamsey because the youth probably will turn against them, especially as we are approaching 2024. So that is the situation we find ourselves. But as one of the panelists pointed out, we are not only polluting the waters for Ghana, but those waters are going further.
I think I even heard on the bit about Dr. Asa Asante saying it could pose a threat, even in terms of our relations with other countries. I don't know whether it's Burkina Faso or Mali. One of our neighboring countries said in recent times that we should get our act together because it was affecting their water sources.
Okay, but of course we also know that Niger, also there's Galamsey in Niger as well. Because I know the young men in my village travel to Niger to engage in Galamsey. But I think he mentioned that it will affect the waters of Côte d'Ivoire. Now, when we do all this, and some of the waters are going into the sea, when we do all this, are we thinking about our health? Are we thinking about the end effect, even on the economy, crops, animals, and all that? So we need to begin to put the country and the people ahead of our personal and individual welfare and interests. Those interests are transient. When the environment is highly polluted, whether you're a president driving in an air-conditioned car, bulletproof car or not, someday, somewhere, you will be affected because you're not going to remain president forever. You may continue to be protected, but members of your family and relatives will not continue to be protected when you are no longer president of this country. When you are no longer engaging in Galamsey, if you are a Galamsey person. So I think that as a country, we need to sit down and look at this again. And I want to speak a comment about, when you use the word, the church is wading into, as if the members of the church are not Ghanaians or citizens.
I merely used that expression because you would notice, for example, when it comes to the Catholic Church, that they are pretty circumspect in some areas. You wouldn't usually hear them. They do things behind the scenes. So when they come publicly, like we saw last year, talking about corruption, talking about Galamsey, that is a bit of, I wouldn't call it a novelty, but it's not usually what their approach would be. So that's why I used that expression.
Yes, and we're not in normal times, as they have said. Whilst we have certain church members condemning Galamsey and calling for an end to the National Cathedral, other members of some churches are deeply involved in promoting the National Cathedral. They are rather wading into the issues that will negatively affect Ghanaians. At this stage, at this economic crisis, we need to prioritize. We need to spend our money on the people. We are not short of cathedrals in this country. But we're talking about Galamsey. What measures, if we are failing to stop it, what measures are we putting in place to at least ameliorate the negative impact of Galamsey? Are we compelling people to fill the lands that they have destroyed? Are we planting trees at those sites? So I think that this is the way to go. Yes, we'll take steps to prevent it or stop it. But where it has occurred, we should also be willing to take steps to curb the negative effects of it. And we're not doing that.
We're not doing that. What would be your reaction to the president's commentary in recent times? Reverend Father Blay spoke about it from the philosophical end of things, but there are others who have said that this is some tacit support that is being lent to some people engaging in Galamsey because they are party people or because maybe they are close to the presidency.
Well, I've said that. They fund the party. So if you have leaders of political parties engaging in Galamsey, and especially if you have your own president defending such leaders, what do you expect? See, you can't speak with your tongue in cheek. Say, oh, I'm going to make sure I fight Galamsey. And then you turn around and defend those companies that are allegedly involved in corruption. I mean, in Galamsey. I now tend to use the two alternatively, corruption and Galamsey. Galamsey is fueled by corruption. And at the highest level, because it's really unfortunate that the president himself should come out and defend Akonta Mining without waiting for the outcome. of the investigation that is. Now, you see, there are two ways of interfering with the work of the Office of Special Prosecutor or any investigative body. One is self-censorship. The fellow might just feel, oh, the president or the authorities do not like this, so let me do it. Then you go the same route. But there's the direct way of the president or a leader coming out to direct the institution to do things in a certain way, either directly saying it or commenting as if he's just throwing the words into the air, but indirectly telling the special prosecutor that Akunta Mining is not engaging in illegal mining. So what do you expect the special prosecutor to come out at? What results do you expect him to come out with from his investigation? And this is not the first time. The cash for seed saga. He came out even before any investigation to see that, no, there was nothing wrong. There was stolen visa saga. He came out and said they did nothing wrong. So you cannot say you are fighting corruption when you are not allowing the institution that you put in place to do their work. Whether it's Galamsey or it's corruption. You are the last person that should say, I've received this report, I've looked at it, and I'm convinced that the findings are acceptable. Then you exonerate the person, but not upfront, when the investigations are not taking place. You are indirectly telling the investigating body, don't investigate this matter, because after all, I have the facts. Or that if you investigate and bring the results, I won't do anything about it. And that's very unfortunate.
Right. Let me bring in Paul Grave-Boakye-Dankwa, who speaks for government. What is your take on the matter of Galamsey and how far we have come or how far we have not come in the fight against Galamsey? And how do you react to the comments of Vitus Azim? For him, he's basically saying it's no surprise, but especially wrong, so to speak, because Mr. President shouldn't be seen as the person coming forward to say any of this, especially when the OSP's report on Akunta Mining is not out. Your reaction?
You know, Benjamin, as at June of 2022, the government of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, for the first time in history in this country, had commissioned 100 mercury-free machines. 100 mercury-free machines. And clearly, these 100 mercury-free machines is government's effort in ensuring that the consistent destruction of our water bodies comes to an end.
Clarify for me. Commissioned these 100 mercury-free machines and did what with them? Gave them to which outfits? To whom?
We gave to small-scale miners. A number of the water bodies which have been destroyed legally and even illegally have been done largely by small-scale miners who do not have the capacity and money to be able to afford mercury machines. And our government has provided 100 mercury-free machines to these small-scale miners. I would recall when the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, together with the Minerals Commission CEO, came to have a presser and explained very clearly how they have set up groups in the various units of small-scale miners, where many of them who at the time of washing their gold would need to come and ask for the mercury-free machines from their cohorts. Now, these 3 mercury-free machines are supposed to help the small-scale miners, their high tons per hour. The mercury machines are supposed to help them recover a number of their gold and then also have high gold revenue. Now, I'm in no doubt in my mind that our government...
Pardon the interjection. I'll allow you to go ahead. I'm just going to say here that I feel then that we should be following up with the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources on the state of these machines and where they are currently and what work they are doing. But thanks for that reminder. Please go ahead, Paul Grave.
Well, it's a good reminder to also let everyone know that our government is not sleeping on the laurels, and our government is working very hard to ensure that the destruction of our water bodies comes to an end. And I agree very well with the learned father, Dr. Joseph Blay, when he states about the medical conditions and health conditions. In recent times, it's also been stated that a number of persons who live in Galamsey sites are experiencing yaws which is also a major concern. But you'll recall that
you mean the health condition?
The health conditions.
Yours, right.
It's a major concern for our government, and I'm sure it's a major concern for the Ghanaian people as well, who are experiencing these adverse health challenges. Now, our government, in ensuring that we do not have consistent deforestation and degradation, are planting trees. When we started our second term, we have planted close to about maybe if I'm not exaggerating, about 7 million seedlings. In the first time, we did about 2 million. Last year, we did about 5 million. I'm very certain that this year we're going to plant a lot more trees. Now, these trees that we are planting is also one of government's efforts in ensuring clearly that we meet up to the climate change. And climate change has become a bigger conversation globally, and our government has signed a pact, to it, right up from 2015 up to date. The various COP27, COP26, COP28 that has happened in Scotland and in Egypt are clear efforts of government measures in ensuring that we are meeting up to the needs of the Ghanaian people and ensuring that we are having a cleaner energy as we go forward. In the President's recent statement on the 4th of January 2023, I would associate myself with a statement of the learned father, Dr. Joseph Blay, that in the philosophical statement within which the President stated that as he speaks now, and which is right, as we speak now, Akonta mining has been halted, and the Ghanaian people are aware of that. And so when the President comes to re-emphasize that, I think that it's a lot more of the President's desire to ensure that Akonta mining, if they are found culpable, will go through the rigors of the law. The President stating that is not in any way infringing upon what the special prosecutor is going to do, is not in any way going to influence the special prosecutor's decision, is not in any way in agreeing to whatever illegal...
Did the President have to come out and say that, especially when maybe the Lands and Natural Resources Minister could have done same? The optics of it is what we are looking at. And like Vitus Azim pointed out, there have been similar issues. The Australian scandal, Charles Bissu's issue, so many of them. And like he says, you cannot overlook the fact that if the President comes out to say this, what influence? We cannot say. But what influence will that have on the special prosecutor's work? Are you saying that that means nothing at all? Is that what you're saying?
The only influence that the President's statement made to the special prosecutor as relates to Akonta mining is that you have my blessing to do your investigation, you have my blessing to be able to bring me a report, and I'll act upon the reports that you bring. The President stated that as we speak now, and Benjamin, I would ask you, is Akonta mining as we speak now on this interview? Is Akonta mining involved in any mining activity as we speak? The answer is no. They have been halted as of last year, and investigations are ongoing. If the President reaffirms that statement, I think it's a clear confidence that the President is placing on the special prosecutor and his minister, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, the Honorable Samuel Abu-Jinapor, to fast-track the investigation and ensure that you bring the matters to bear so that the President will be able to act upon it. And no doubt in my mind that the President is either wanting to shield the owner of Akonta mining. No doubt in my mind of the various allegations that have been raised as it relates to Vital saying that persons that are involved in some illegal mining sponsor political activities. I have no evidence to that effect, unless, of course, he has evidence to that effect to bring to bear. I think it's too early in the year to remind ourselves of some activities that have happened which they have been cleared off. And if we want to go into it, we can go into what the NDC did. We can go into what other political parties did. And I'm not sure that is where we are now. We are having
you're having a conversation with a media entity, JoyNews to be specific, and other panelists. So when you bring in this bit, I feel that is what rubs some people raw or wrong. Because the comparatives and the comparisons and this party and that party, I don't think anyone has mentioned any such situation here. So let's focus on what is being done and what the repercussions could be. Let's not bring in the bit about which party did what.
It's not my desire to be able to bring in the various factions. And so that's what Vitus is doing. We are having conversations which I think has been clearly put in sync academically and even intellectually by the very learned father, Dr. Joseph Blay, that it's a philosophical statement that as we speak now, and Benjamin, as we speak now on this interview where all the Ghanaian people are listening to your network, Akonta mining is not involved in illegal mining and not even involved in mining activity.
Quick question. If in the end the special prosecutor comes out with anything that implicates Akonta mining, looking at all the rhetoric and what we have seen from the past, do you, I'm posing that question to you personally, do you feel the right punitive measures will be brought to bear against Akonta mining and the chairman of your party, the NPP, in the Ashanti region?
Why not? Why not, Benjamin? If the special prosecutor who has been set up by the state, who the president has appointed, has an uninterrupted investigation into Akonta mining and other mining activities that have been involved in illegal mining, destroying our water bodies and ensuring that we do not have cleaner water bodies, and people are having health challenges, and it has come to the matter of the bear, and a paper has been sent to the president. Why not? Why won't the president act upon it? I'm in no doubt in my mind, and I have extreme confidence in the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to be able to act upon every single document that comes from the Office of the Special Prosecutor as it relates to Akonta mining, because the president himself is very aware of how mining is degrading the entire country. And he has said that he's going to make mining uncomfortable and unattractive, illegal mining uncomfortable and unattractive for people that are involved in it, which is why our government has sought to work with small-scale miners and help them legalize, and then also help them have sustainable and responsible mining. And I think that this is in no way going to impede on the investigations that the Office of the Special Prosecutor will do as it relates to Akonta mining and other mining activities.
Let's take a step away from Galamsey and take a quick look at corruption. I did say that we would go there before wrapping the conversation. And I'll start with you, Vitus. So we look at the Auditor General's reports and what we lose every year, the billions. In fact, the last report, the about 11 billion that we lost in cedis to activities that shouldn't have happened, or some engagements, procurements, and other things that didn't follow due process. Then you add that to the fact that estimated we're losing between $4 and $6 billion every year. We're hemorrhaging funds when it comes to the gaps in our system, the corrupt activities that happen, and all of that inimical to the fortunes of the state. And you put that side by side with the fact that we're looking for $3 billion from the IMF. What if we had saved or been able to mop up even half of these resources from corruption-related activities? Maybe we wouldn't be there. What do you make of the drive against corruption? Feed that into the Office of the Special Prosecutor and the fact that he has come to the fore in recent times talking about the challenges he's facing. Even recently, he's spoken again. He's not been paid. His staff have not been paid. Logistically, they are constrained for over 17 months. And I bring that up because that is similar to what happened to Martin Amidou. What does that mean for the fight against corruption?
We are not committed to the fight against corruption. And the special prosecutor himself has said that. I said from the whole part, he says he doesn't think Ghana is ready to fight corruption. But I think that when we are talking about the financial constraints, especially with regards to the payment of the staff, do we know why the staff are not paid for more than a year? We need to know. Did the Office of Special Prosecutor go through the normal procedure of recruiting the staff? Did they get clearance from Minister of Finance? Did they go through the Public Service Commission? Did they do the right thing and then submit the appointment letters to the Minister of Finance and the Controller Accountant General, and they refuse to pay them? There must be a reason. There must be a reason why you should expect people to working for 17 months without being paid. So I think that the Office of Special Prosecutor need to come out more to tell us why they are not being paid. Has the government reason to see that for now we don't have enough resources to pay your staff? Or has the government pointed out that there is a weakness in your recruitment process because of that we are unable to pay? We need to get that information. But in general, government's commitment to the fight against corruption is not just this government, but past governments, with regards to resource allocation, has not been encouraging. And when you look at the reports, you refer to the Ghana Statistical Service report, you refer to the Ghana Integrity Initiative or Transparent National reports, you refer to Afro Barometer, and we are performing below average. With Ghana Integrity Initiative, I've always said that the highest score is 100. Okay, no country has ever scored 100. But you should strive to score at least 50. When you look at even Ghana, with regards to its relationship, its performance with all other African countries, we are always 5th or 6th on the list. And yet, in other areas, there's black below sub-Saharan Africa to get independence and democratic and this with our those credentials. Why are we not at least able to score 50 out of 100? It's because of these things that are happening. And the media is always full of reports about alleged corruption. And the fact that we don't act on these allegations. There's no point setting up institutions and not giving the necessary resources to perform. Or if they perform and they bring their reports up, no action is taken on those reports. So whom are we deceiving? We're just deceiving the world or meeting international commitments and pressures from our donors that we should set out the 1 or 2 committees. The Auditor General's report you mentioned. Have you ever heard of 1 or 2 people being taken to court by the Attorney General because of the Auditor General's report? So why do we set up these institutions? Pay people to do audits. And at the end of the day, we are not able to prosecute, enforce the law to get money recovered. Even administrative action, sacking people, or even demoting people as a result of their inability to account for public monies. It's not satisfactory. So, as for corruption, I don't even think we should use the word fight. We are not fighting corruption. We are speaking about corruption. We speak about it when there's an issue for 1 week and we forget about it. That's why the media is doing well, but the rest of us are not playing our role. Ghanaian citizen, the ordinary Ghanaian goes for a service in the hospital or at the post office or whatever, doesn't want to queue up, especially if you know the one at the other end. How many of us are willing to report corruption? How many of us are willing to come out and give evidence? How many of us, if our relative is arrested by the police, will not go and try to beg the police to release the person, even if we know that the person has committed a crime? So, even though we blame the government because it's a leadership, we ourselves, our citizens, are not even doing enough. When we plan a demonstration, Martin Kego planned a demonstration in Temple. What was the attendance? It was described as poor attendance. But it concerned very important issues affecting this country. So I think that's the situation. I don't want us to throw our hands into the air and say that we are lost, but it appears that when it comes to the fight against corruption, unless we change our leadership, unless we change our attitude towards state and public resources, I don't think that we will succeed.
Let's look at this fact. If we look at the estimate that was given just last year by Ken Ofori-Atta, the finance minister, in terms of how much Ghana loses to corruption, like I said, many portals would suggest between $4 and $6 billion. He went for the lower figure, $4 billion. That would constitute 20% of Ghana's budget. 20% in CD terms. But there's a scholar, a Ghanaian scholar, who, reflecting on the situation, said, and I was going to make that point. I'm coming to you, Reverend Blay. Corruption is inherent in our society, and so we need to educate the public on the adverse impact of corruption on the country to ensure an attitudinal change. How much of a factor is it, generally speaking? Is the Ghanaian desperately corrupt, the ordinary Ghanaian on the street? Is that reflecting in our leaders? And how do we cure this malaise?
Well, I don't think that corruption is limited to Ghanaians.
That question was actually for Reverend Blay, but you can chip in.
Okay,
you can chip in briefly, and then I'll bring in Reverend Blay.
Well, I'm just saying that human nature is such that we're always greedy. We always think about ourselves before we think about neighbor. Even we, the Christians, that Jesus said that you should love your neighbor as yourself. We tend to love ourselves more than our neighbor, and that's the main cause of corruption.
Right, Reverend Blay.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to hear that, because as I was listening and reflecting, I always believe, I'm not a philosopher, but I believe in philosophy, that the way human beings act and behave, it's always based on their worldview. So whether we are aware or not, we believe we have some principles that guide our life, and that is our worldview. And when you look at corruption in Ghana, the corruption in Ghana is embedded in our Ghanaian cultural philosophy or cultural worldviews. Take some example of our proverbs. I know proverbs are just a summary of what we live in. When the Ghanaian says, "Obiara didi na dwuma ho," Obiara didi na dwuma ho. Everybody lives by his work or her work. What does that mean? In normal sense, that means that the work that you are doing, you are paid, and from that you get your livelihood. But for the Ghanaian, that is not it. Because of this philosophy, this proverb that we goes by, no matter how much you pay this person, if he's taking something from the workplace to go home, he doesn't see it as theft or thievery. He doesn't see that he's stealing, because Obiara didi na dwuma ho. And that is a philosophy that we grow with from childhood, from adolescent, right into the university, and then we graduate into this. Take another proverb, Ghanaian proverb, that says, "Adzipa wo fear oye." So this Adzipa wo fear oye means now, when we are going to vote or elect MPs and people, it doesn't matter what this person is, his qualification or her qualification, whether he has a competence or not. It is good that in my family or in my town, in my community, I should have an MP. So there may be somebody very qualified, but we don't mind. And sometimes some of these things are even allegations penetrating even into the central governance, where somebody may be better, but as a power fear oye. So we are doing these things unconsciously, but that is the philosophical worldview that we have. That is how we see things. And that is why I like when Dr. Kwame Nkrumah in his conscientism talk about what is the perception, what type of Ghanaian do we want to be? So we have to form what does it mean to be a Ghanaian. So I agree 100% that if we are going to uproot or solve, which we can never have it 100%, but if we are going to solve corruption problem, which is now almost a crisis, a canker in Ghana, it must be education. And here I see 3 terms or 3 stages. There must be the short term, and the short term is what we expect of the governance, the government. And that is one of the reasons why we change government. It's because we have a problem, and the former government was not able to solve it. So we say, come and solve it for us. Or we want to reach a certain target, and the former government is not leading us there. So now you come and push us to reach there. And as you see, I'm very objective, or I try to be objective, and I'm apolitical. I have no political affiliation. So one of the campaigns of President Akufo-Addo is that he's coming to fight corruption. And he even spoke during his campaigns that when people challenge him about the free SSS, that there will not be money. He said, no, there is a lot of money that we can get from corruption. People are taking Ghana's money away. So when people vote for you, they expect that you are coming to deliver. So in the short term, what are you doing to prove that, yes, I said I'm coming to fight corruption, and this is what I'm doing? When President Kufuor was there and he intended, or he bent on fighting corruption, he established the fast-track court. And we saw that, Alhaji Issa or Inusu, he was imprisoned because of that. And even our eminent Chikata, Kojoji Carter, such an intelligent man, very great man. I mean, he was found guilty and then he was incarcerated. Please, even if it's one day, just to prove that I'm ready to fight corruption. And for 6 years, we have not seen anything of this. And we expected more from a president who was attorney general, a citizen lawyer, and we have given you the executive power. So that is the short-term measure that we expect. So in the short term, people want to see action, to see that, yes, we are ready to fight corruption. Then in the medium term, the education should come in. Corruption, anti-corruption should be in our school curriculum. So that some of this philosophy that I was talking about, we need to form the mind of the people. It takes 30 years to change a generation. So if we start our educating people, let them know that if you are working, you don't need to take anything home, anything that is not yours, anything without permission. Once you are paid, is stealing, is corruption. When you go, somebody mentioned, when you go and there's a queue, don't jump over the queue. The person in front of you has also the right to be served. And when you go to Europe anywhere, that is what you see. So corruption can be fought and can be eradicated in Africa. When you read Transparency International on their website,
right,
in Africa, Botswana is the only country in Africa that is in the green zone, which shows that we can do it. And I'm told that in Botswana, when you go to their mineral site, even if the president is going there, he will be searched. Even the president, he will be searched. Nobody can take even a tiny diamond out. So that should be the medium term. Let us have a syllabus. Let us have a curriculum, educating our youth, our people, right from the schools to teach them that this is corruption, this is against the law, we can live without it, we can live and work and earn genuine and free money.
Right.
Then in the long term, again, after a generation, we will have it, but then there will be few patches of it. And if our institutions are working, our judiciary is working, then here we'll be able to trim it down. As we said, it's a human problem. So we cannot eliminate it totally, but at least we can increase our percentage on the transparency barometer.
Before I take your final comments, let me bring in Paul Grave on the same matter. The fight against corruption. CSOs, religious bodies, pundits, panelists have said no. In recent times, the special prosecutor himself, and that is telling, has said he doesn't know whether we're even ready to fight corruption. Are we making any headway? Paul Grave.
Benjamin, we are making a lot of headways as it relates to the fight against corruption.
We are?
And I must, Office of the Special Prosecutor, all the staff, with the exception of the Special Prosecutor, have been paid since the office began. All the staffs of the Office of the Special...
That wasn't the rhetoric of what we got. It said that not just the Special Prosecutor, some of his deputies, unless you're telling me that his deputies are not part of his outfit.
I need to record straight. Majority of the staffs at the Office of the
Now you're saying a majority. A majority is different from all of those apart from the Special Prosecutor. You do get that, Paul Grave.
Majority of the Office of the Special Prosecutor are all on attachments from their various ministries. They have all sent from various ministries to the Office of the Special Prosecutor. So all staffs that have been transferred from one ministry or other to the Office of the Special Prosecutor are all on salary. They are all paid. So staffs that have the Auditor General, Accountant General, staffs that have come from Controller, Payroll, all the staffs, all those auxiliary staffs are all salaried.
How about the Article 71 office holders? And I just want to find out, since you are in governance circles, the Special Prosecutor is treated like a justice of the Court of Appeal. And of course, we know the salary structure and all of that and the increments over time. Is that a problem? How much has to be paid to him? There has been some noise about the Finance Ministry and paying the Special Prosecutor which sums, and some 20,000 versus the 33,000 plus that a justice of the Court of Appeal would get. Is that where the problem lies? Or is it part of the problem?
I will not want to speak particularly on the salary of the Special Prosecutor. I think that he's come out very clearly to state his position that he's not been paid. But I just wanted to clarify very clearly that majority of the staff at the Office of the Special Prosecutor who are on attachment from their various ministries and are working currently at the Office of the Special Prosecutor are all salaried and are paid as we speak. They are all paid. On corrupt activities, our government, clearly, I mean, Benjamin,
quick one. I'm sorry I have to do this. I'm sorry, Paul Grave. Pardon me for doing this. You say they are all paid, that is, those others who may not be Article 71 office holders and the rest. Was it after the noise was made about their not being paid, or have they always been paid for the past 17, 18 months? Can you clarify that?
They have always been paid because they were already working at various ministries and were sent on transfer to the Office of the Special Prosecutor. So persons that were working either from the AG's department, persons that were working at the Accountant General, persons that were working at Controller, Auditors General, the various ministries that are needed to augment new public offices that are set up. All of them have been paid, and it is not after the noise. They have been paid as of the transfer. And so their salaries consistently come in on a monthly basis.
Right, point made. On corruption generally, are we making any headway? Just a bit brief on that so that we can have a final batch of reactions and then
very brief on that. On corruption, our government has done extremely well. I mean, we've set up the Office of Special Prosecutor. We funded the anti-graft agencies massively. Is represented in our budgets that we have read consistently. On corruption as well, you'll see how Yoko is working effectively to ensure that they clamp down on a number of crimes that are happening. And I'm particularly excited about the fact that they are clamping down on stolen vehicles, which has become a mantra for young people who don't want to involve themselves and acquaint themselves to hard work. They bring in vehicles from other countries that they are stealing and bringing it to the detriment of Ghanaian people who are purchasing them. I'm excited about the number of measures that government is putting in place to ensure that STRAD is fully funded and fully resourced very well. The Office of the Special Prosecutor is being looked at very confidently. The Yoko is also being looked at. And I'm confident that government's effort, as we put in place against corruption, is going to yield the necessary effect as it's yielding already.
Right. This is the final bite for each of you. If you can do just about a minute, I'd be grateful. But I'll start with you once more, Paul Grave, because especially those areas we focused on, Galamsey and corruption, feed into what a Ghanaian scholar has said. I want to find out what you think about it. Quote, the Constitution has given the executive president every power to do whatever he or she wants. And I believe that is a bigger problem. Because, for instance, when a political party comes into power, almost everybody who heads public institutions is sacked. And they are replaced with party people compromising checks and balances. So our laws must be amended. What do you make of that?
So, Benjamin, clearly we run a very different style of politics in this part of the world. We have political appointments, which obviously to be able to fulfill your vision as a president who has won an election, you need to have political leaders who would be able to implement your policies at the various ministries, departments, and agencies, and even at the very local level. And so those political appointments are often changed. Successive governments do not change civil servants, which is the bigger force of the labor market. And you'll recall last year how we had major conversations on the neutrality allowance, how we had major conversations on COLA, and all of these are compensations that our government is giving to the labor force. I mean, the bigger part of the civil service, which works to ensure that government is able to achieve their goals and objectives. But for political appointments, all political appointments are appointed by every single government as they come in. Now, Benjamin, I need to state this. You'll recall in December of, I think, 19th of December 2019 or so, the president wanted the entire country to have a referendum. I think that was a very sad day for the country where the biggest opposition party pulled out of it, because what we sought to see and achieve was that we give enough more power to the local assemblies to elect their own MMDCs and DCs so that we take the development really to the lower level. But at the end of the day,
was it the minority that pulled out, or was it not the president's decision that that should be put on ice?
You recall that
in the end, it was the president's decision not to proceed.
Well, earlier on, the president has always agreed on consensus, and so the biggest opposition party, the minority, and the NDC pulled out of the conversations. You recall that famous picture that came out from the office of the president, where we had the then former President John Ajay-Kunkufo, the former President Jerry John Rawlings, the former President John Dramani Mahama, and the sitting President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, in that glamorous, beautiful picture where the number of conversations were held. And one of those conversations that came out of their meeting was the fact that we need to be able to take local power and local authority to the local people to be able to vote and enact their own MMDCs and these things.
Right.
So that consensus, when it got time of the referendum, we saw a U-turn from the biggest opposition party. For me personally, on the front, that was quite a sad day for us. And I think that going forward, we need to, I've seen that the president has stated very clearly that he's going to relook at that and be able to reach consensus with the various political parties so that we can be able to move this forward. And I'm very certain, and no doubt in my mind, that our government is working assiduously in meeting the various goals and aspirations that we have set out to meet for the Ghanaian people.
Paul Grave, thank you so much for joining the conversation this morning. Paul Grave Boakye Dankwa is government's spokesperson on governance and security. We wish you the best, Paul Grave. Let me take the concluding remarks now of Vitus Azim in a minute.
Yes, I think that the Constitution has given the executive or the president so much power that sometimes tend to fuel the corruption. Because if you're talking about the politicians, yes, to appoint the ministers, but when it goes down to public servants, chief directors, and even directors of the units of some of these departments, and it goes down to the independent institutions, then it's too much and you weaken them because they tend to see you as a source of their power. And in Ghana, power is sweet. You have all the perks, the PH and the watchmen and the security men, and sometimes the motorcade and all that. So nobody wants to be removed once you have been given that position. And until we change that, corruption will continue to be high.
Right.
In some countries, what we do is to take, like Commission on Human Rights made that you take 3 people. The Public Service Commission will go through and come out with 3 people and present to the president to pick one. In our case, the president just sleeps and wakes up and appoints somebody. Background checks, we don't know whether background checks are conducted or not. And so, if I'm sleeping my house and you call me and say, I want to give you this appointment, why won't I owe my patience to you and do whatever I think pleases you? Even if you don't ask me to do them, I will try to conceive what pleases you and do it. And as long as our situation remains like this, we will not succeed. And you ask yourself, why did the president refuse to act on the white paper of the Constitutional Review Commission? Because he doesn't want those powers to be taken away from him. And that's unfortunate.
Mr. Azim, thank you so much for joining the conversation. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Vitus Azim is an anti-graft or anti-corruption campaigner. We'll wrap with Reverend Father Joseph Blay, an anti-Galamsey campaigner. What are your final words for us, Padre? You would have to unmute.
Congratulate the media.
Okay, right. I think I can hear you now.
First of all, I would like to congratulate the media for the role you are playing to consolidate our democracy. Now it is said that you are the 4th arm of government, so congratulations. Secondly, on the point of the president's statement yesterday, as I said initially that it was unfortunate because not everybody will have the time to analyze it from a philosophical perspective. So my advice to our president is that as long as he's our president until 7th January 2025, he is our president and he doesn't have to be a counselor. I know that he is a seasoned lawyer. So he's not a counselor of any particular person or an advocate of any particular person. So certain statements should be very well measured and circumspective when he's talking in public. Because, you know, when you make an emotive statement, people are carried out by the emotion of it, and then it can cause a lot of other pandemonium. Yesterday, for example, I was so sad I couldn't even eat. People were asking me why. I said, I feel very unfortunate to hear this. Then later on, after reflecting on it, I said, well, this is what it means. So that is just on that. Then the statement that the president made, again, is a challenge to the OSP and a challenge to the judiciary. Now they have the challenge to prove their autonomy, that they cannot be influenced by the president's statement, that they are autonomous, they are independent. So that is what we are waiting to see, because they are not investigating today. They are investigating what has happened before Wednesday, 4th January 2023. And that is what has been put there. So I encourage Kende Ashibe and his team to continue to petition the IGP that justice is really rendered to this case. I would also want to comment that in fighting Galamsey, we need all hands on desk. People may find, but you are a Catholic priest, why are you involved in this? The very people that come to my church, the church, to listen to the gospel are the very people who go out in their homes to drink mercury. They are the very women who are giving birth to children without eyes. So the gospel says that we need to make this earth which God has given to us, make it a comfortable place. So we need all hands on desk. I was grown up from a very small village. By God's grace, in my community, Jema, I managed to educate the people. We have written a concord. The people have agreed that nobody will permit Galamsey or illegal mining, not even any type of mining, in the community. They have all signed, all the stud owners, people, more than 300 signatories, with a copy to the president, IGP. So those of us that God has blessed with higher learning, higher education, let us use our enlightenment to enlighten our community. So what I'm saying here is that all hands on deck. If we want to really fight it, all hands on deck, because no matter what, you are affected. When you go out, you may be in your car, in your room, but when you move out, you are breathing the mercury. Your parents or your relatives are also being affected. Then finally, I would say that we have made a lot of appeals also to the IGP. In fact, right now I have 3 letters to the IGP questioning Asimkrom police station why an excavator was transported to Asimkrom for illegal mining. I think we showed the pits, and the excavator was heading towards there. You see a school building there, somebody's house was there. The excavator was impounded without arresting the people. And my question is, does the excavator fly by itself? Is it a drone? So where are the people? Why haven't they arrested them? And I want the IGP to query and question those responsible, the officer at Asimkrom and all those who are connected with that. So if we are going to fight Galamsey, everybody should be on deck, and then we must all cooperate, and those responsible authorities must be up and doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Padre. Reverend Father Joseph Blay is an anti-Galamsey campaigner. Earlier, we were joined by Dr. Kwame Asasanti, who is with the University of Ghana, a political scientist. When we return after the break, we'll be taking you to what is happening in Apiate and the latest there as far as what the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources has been telling us. But before we go, how about we take a sip of water? Water is life. It regulates your body temperature and keeps you alive and kicking. Awake is premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. Guess what? We have the perfect sizes for all occasions. 330 and 500 ml bottles to fit your pockets and bags, 750 ml for the heavy drinkers, and 1.5 liters for those who always want more, like me. We have introduced our special 19-liter jars for offices and homes. Now, all you need to do, stay awake with Awake Purified Drinking Water wherever you go. So come on, grab a bottle of Awake Water and get quality, top-notch hydration. Awake Purified Drinking Water, one for life. Remember, with every bottle you purchase, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. So you're doing some good with every bottle you purchase. It's produced by Casapreco. For bulk purchases, just call 0262 351 251. This advert is FDA approved. Stay, we'll be right back.
was in the Apiate community some hours after the huge explosion flattened it. A big crater is visible many meters away. The car carrying the explosive had stopped right in front of the community. The truck was torn into pieces after the detonation. No part of it was seen again. I met 60-year-old Joseph Apiate. He lost his 21-year-old son, his pup, and a house.
When I came to the scene,
yeah,
I said to a lot of people that I wish I would have died. Because it wasn't easy for me at that particular moment.
Yeah.
But currently I'm managing. I have lost so many things. Like our referee said, I have drinking spot somewhere, store somewhere, and then 5 bedrooms. And then my new house is 10 bedrooms self-contained.
10 bedrooms?
Yeah, each room having its own washroom.
10 bedrooms? Yeah. So that's been completely destroyed or what?
Destroyed.
It is less than 2 weeks to the 1-year anniversary of the disaster. These women are gathered under tents singing to welcome a government delegation led by the Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abujinapo. Present here are the residents, traditional and opinion leaders, and more. The Port Divisional Chief Nana Atta Kojo Brembid II says some victims of the Apiate explosion are now physically challenged with no funds to get medical care. Some of the residents are still at the hospital. Others are still recuperating. We do not have any money. That's why we are begging for support. Some of our people are now physically challenged and cannot do any active work. Some of your children are SHS graduates and are unable to continue to the tertiary institution because their parents are bedridden. That is why I am begging for support, he said with a worried face. Minister of Lands and Natural Resources Samuel Abujinapo announced more plans to support the victims. He said government is committed to rebuilding the community and restoring the lives of the residents to what it was before or even better.
I must say that I'm very happy and excited about the progress of work. The work is on schedule, and God willing, all things being equal, by the end of this year, we will finish phase 1 of the Apiate reconstruction community, and that will enable us resettle the displaced people of Apiate. We are building a model community, building a community which will become a model for other rural communities in our country. We are fully determined to make sure that we complete this reconstruction and ensure that the people of Apiate are resettled and resettled properly. It is going to be a climate-friendly community with all the amenities of a modern community: schools, hospital, clinics, community centers, markets, and everything that will make a community a habitable one, with roads and water, sanitation, and everything. And we want to assure Nana and his people that we will work to their satisfaction and make sure that we bring this dream to fruition.
Among others, he presented bags of rice cooking oil and made a cash donation to the people. He also inspected the ongoing reconstruction of Apiate. He's hopeful the contractors will be on schedule to complete the work in June.
We're going to have the community first of all, and the displaced indigents will be resettled and resettled properly in settlements which were far advanced, far modern, far climatically friendly, and all of that. And we are insisting and determined to get value out of the funds which have been given out for this reconstruction. And I will also use this opportunity to continue to call on Ghanaians, to call on all and sundry to contribute to the fund, to continue to contribute to the fund, because as you can see, this is just phase 1 of the development. And indeed, people can take up even some of the projects like school blocks, nurseries, chief compounds, and all of that.
Architect of the Apiate Reconstruction Committee, Charles Blankson Hermans, says the buildings are environmentally friendly and all social amenities will be provided.
The original Apiate township that got blasted, comprising of about 120 houses or so, That is what is being built. The work is impressive. We are using the compressed earth bricks, making the green technology to be quite successful in its execution. It takes a bit more time to produce the compressed earth bricks, but it is very climatically inclined. So we are hoping that very soon they'll start the roofing of the house.
And so by the June 5th this year, how many houses are we going to see?
We should be able to finish the core.
The core?
Yes, about 120. Obviously, because of the Christmas break, work has slowed down, but a lot has been done in the last 3-4 months. So we are hoping that by the June time, yeah, we should be able to do.
Welcome back on the AM show. And of course, that is the state of the Apiate community. Some 30+% of work completed so far. We look forward to further developments on that. And some of the victims who are physically challenged have said they have no money to access certain facilities. But that is the latest from there. We activate the phone lines now so you can share your thoughts on the myriad matters we've been discussing this morning. In that initial conversation, we're talking about governance issues in Ghana, corruption, and Galamsey, all three of them put together. You heard our panelists from academia representing government, anti-graft campaigners, anti-Galamsey campaigners. What is your take on that matter? We've also brought to bear the Apiate issue. What are your reactions? You can call 0302 211 691. 0302 211 691. I would also like you to react to Mr. President's statement in Koforidua. If we can play it again, I would appreciate it. What Mr. President said in Koforidua. What is your take on it? Reverend Father spoke about the philosophical understanding he had, though he was disappointed. What is your take? Let's take our first caller and then maybe we can look at that video again. Abendao from Kumasi. Abendao, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Afisha Panso.
I think come to you. Afisha say another day.
Afisha say no normal from negative to positive.
Ayo. To wait, hopefully a year from now, things would be positive and it would have moved from the negative. Abendao, what are your thoughts for us this morning?
You ran and left us, and then Benny served us throughout the Christmas, and now you are back. So it's better that Benny too has run and left you for a while.
No, I didn't run away. We had to get some rest. And mind you, I do this show together with Bernice Abubedu Lanza. We do this together, but I had to take some rest, and now she is also taking some well-deserved rest. She'll be back.
Anyway, I hear you. But you see, Akakpo, it's simple as ABCD in response to Galamsey activities in Ghana. Now, Bernice is not on the show with you. It's clear that Bernice is not there. If Bernice is sitting behind the camera, it's simple as that, because I can't see Bernice with you right now. So, the president and the government are saying that they are fighting Galamsey, they are succeeding. But what is the success? What are everywhere? Our land is being depleted everywhere. It is under ascendancy. But they are saying it is under control. It is under control. They have succeeded in fighting the Galamsey. What is it? Now, most of our river bodies are on the ascendancy in terms of pollution. So it's not a matter of them saying that they have done this, they have done that. But what we see is what we believe in. And in fact, in the fight against Galamsey, in fact, they have failed. But if they can empower the chiefs to be involved in the fight against Galamsey, I think that they will succeed, because the chiefs are in the area and they know people who are involved in the Galamsey, because they cannot do any Galamsey activities without the knowledge of the chiefs. So I think the government should empower the chiefs so that the chiefs can fight against the Galamsey menace, and we will succeed. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. If we can go back to the video of Mr. President, we can play that and then take some more calls. 0302-211-691.
My seat. Let me respond briefly to the chairperson on the issue of illegal mining. I want to assure him and all of you that Akonta Mining is not engaged in any illegal mining anywhere in Ghana as we speak. Further, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources has, through the agency of the Forestry Commission, with the assistance of the military, made the effort to cordon off all 294 sites of forest reserves in the country and rid them of illegal mining as we speak.
And that was Mr. President. But let's now go to James in Esiakwa. James, good morning. Hello, James.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
I'm saying that I am just surprised about how people are trying to defend this Galamsey issue. Looking at the extent to which our water bodies have been destroyed, I don't think people can come boldly because of party or in the name of party trying to defend it. We should all come together, as the Reverend Father was saying, as a family to stop it and once and for all. Else, in the future, this country will be in a mess. That's my contribution.
Okay, so you're reacting to one of our panelists, I guess, and what he had to say.
Please.
Right.
Yes, please.
Right. Yes. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. 0302-211-691. What are your thoughts? We still have a bit of time to take your calls. What do you think? Galamsey, are we getting it right? What do we do to better the situation in 2023? It will not happen overnight, we know. But can we make the situation better? After all, it's all about, even in life, it's about being better today than you were yesterday. And by that, you get better every day. How about corruption? We keep complaining about it. What do we do about the situation? And you can also talk about the Apiate explosion. And of course, tied to Galamsey, we can also talk about what Mr. President said just a few days ago. We have Felix in Mankasim. Oh, Stephen. All right, Stephen. Hello, good morning, Stephen.
Yeah, good morning, sir. How are you too?
I am well. Thank you for joining us. What are your thoughts?
Yes, my problem is how President recently came in with the issue of saying Akonta mining as well. So I think it's not appropriate. And for me, the way and the manner our water bodies and forest reserves are being damaged, I think the present approach, I would say, is not at the right way. And for me, I think we have to come together as a nation and say the truth. And also make sure that what is not good for the country, we all fight together. But if somebody will stand at the right and someone also will stand at the left and going different way, I think we have a long way to go as a nation. So my point is, President should further help so that we fight this Galamsey to have a future Ghana. That's all. Thank you.
Stephen, before you go, just give me your reaction. Government spokesperson on governance and security joined the conversation, and he said that the president adds at the end that as we speak, so he was talking of the current, that Akonta Mining and others are not involved in any such activities. Do you still fault him?
You bear with me that, let's say if Akonta is not mining, we have a lot of people mining now. And we'll have a lot of people mining now. So if only Akonta will be singled out, what about the multitude who are there? So my view is, let us bring all of them out. And I could see that because these people are more powerful, we find it difficult to eliminate them. So let us all remove our hands from them and make sure the right thing is done to better our future Ghana, please.
Thank you, Stephen, for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you, too.
0302-211-691. What are your thoughts? Do share them with us. And of course, maybe before we take the last batch of calls, the convener, as far as that event where the president spoke, including the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference, had also called for the prosecution of officials of the company for the alleged offenses. And the convener said, it cannot be that there is no sufficient evidence to establish that Akonta Mining has a case to answer and that there is insufficient evidence to initiate prosecution against the company's director and officers. Something to contemplate. We have Mohammed on the line. Mohammed, where are you calling from?
Good morning, Mr. Ben. I'm calling from Bupe in the Central Gunja district of Savannah region.
Right. Please go ahead with your thoughts.
All right. Ben, let me say that it is true that Akonta Mining may not be involved in any form of mining at the moment or as we speak. But it is also true that at some point in time, we have Akonta Mining engaging in some other form of illegal mining. And for a country to show commitment and resolve to fighting the canker of Galamsey, I think our energy should be directed to how we can, as we go forward, clamp down any activity. Whether the person has done that in the past, the person has done that presently, or the person will do that in the future. What measures are we putting in place to ensure that that activity has been truncated? And then let me also say that we have not shown real commitment over the years, regardless of which government is in power, in fighting this issue of corruption. Most government officials, and I'm saying this not because I have hardcore evidence, but we know that these people are those that are engaged in this illegal activity. And even before the task force would even reach this site, the people operating there have already gotten a tip-off and they flee. So at the end of the day, we pay lip attention to the issue of Galamsey, but in the real sense, we are not doing it. In fact, Akonta Mining or any other institution which is involved in this act should be prosecuted duly and then made to face the full force of the law. I don't see why at some point in time we try to justify certain activities. Of course, every government at some point in time would want to do something for the people to say that, okay, they are fighting the many. But what is the real intent? What is the will to do it? And for me, I think we are not doing much in that aspect. Let me also touch on the issue of corruption. When even the special prosecutor himself has said that the people, the government, Ghanaians, we are not showing that. Again, let me just make this simple. You see, in the senior high school, where a dining hall prefect who is supposed to serve to render services to the students takes 2 tins of milk to himself, and then about 10 students or 12 students share a single tin of milk on the table. So you can tell clearly that we nurture and breed these individuals who engage in corruption right from our senior high schools or even at the lower level.
Right. Thank you, Mohammed, for sharing your thoughts. And we're grateful that you took the time to call because, like I always say, the show is about you. If you're not there to watch us, there's no show. As we wrap the conversation, the Ghana Revenue Authority wishes to inform the public that persons wishing to apply for tax clearance certificates should do so online via taxpayersportal.com or download the Ghana Taxpayers app on Google Play Store or the App Store. Applicants who visit our taxpayer service centers will be assisted by officers of the authority to apply. Applicants are also required to indicate the taxpayer identification number of the institution or organization requesting the certificate so that they can receive a copy. Applicants should take note and be guided accordingly. Kindly reach out to the GRA on toll-free number 0800 900 110 or via WhatsApp number 0552 990 000 or 0200 631 664 or send an email to gra.gov.gh for further inquiries. The Ghana Revenue Authority also wishes to inform the general public, especially persons registered for value-added tax, that the Domestic Tax Revenue Division has commenced the implementation of an electronic invoicing system of VAT, referred to as EVAT. This involves integrating the invoicing systems of VAT-registered taxpayers to the Commissioner General's invoicing system. Reach out once more to the GRA on toll-free number 0800 900 110 or via WhatsApp number 0552 990 000 or 0200 631 664 for further inquiries. On that note, we're grateful that you took the time to join us this morning. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. In the next few minutes, we serve you Joy News Desk. You want to stay for that and get informed. Top of the morning to you, Ghana 4. Have a lovely day.